Hello one, hello all. Welcome to July 12th edition of Box Office. No, Show Business. Man,
It's show business.
I'm all nervous because we have a special guest. We're going to talk about the weekend that was really quickly because,
Cool.
surprise, surprise, the cartoon won. And we have a special guest who's grown quite popular specifically for one reason, and it's due to his coverage of the upcoming film of this weekend. It's Al Smith, who's covering Ghostbusters quite extensively.
Yeah.
Al, thank you for joining us.
No problem. Glad to be here.
And obviously, as always, Peter, yawn, ho hum.
Hodor.
All right, so like I said, not really much of a surprise. I guess the one surprise would be the amount of money. Like, I thought 80 million would have been a big deal, but
It's a
103.
monster.
Jeez.
It's
Yeah.
a literal monster. And I knew it was going to be, and it just but yeah, 100+ million. Wow.
I
Yeah,
haven't kept up to date, but it actually dethroned Finding Doherty. That's crazy.
Yeah, yeah,
Well,
yeah.
Finding Dory actually had dropped the weekend before that, didn't it? I think.
No, it
Or
was.
no,
literally-
it was. It was still up. It was still up. Yeah.
So like, it's been a reign of cartoons, and what I think is funny is what the one thing that we've seen over and over again is these movies going 3-4 against each other, and this upcoming weekend, everybody steered clear of Ghostbusters. People didn't like Mike and Dave didn't mind competing with pets. You had three people on the weekend of Tarzan. You had Tarzan. What did we have that weekend, Peter?
Purge, BFG.
Yeah, everybody wanted to get in on it together. They didn't mind the competition. And this weekend, it's Ghostbusters, and that's it.
Yeah.
And it's really, really odd because, I mean, you would think somebody would just switch just to capitalize on all the hate.
Well, I think it's the brand name. That's people think no matter what, whether it's a good or bad movie, people are going to go see it because of its title and the brand name.
Mm-hmm.
So I think it's like going up against Star Wars. You're not really gonna do much. You might get some counter programming,
Mm-hmm.
but you don't really stand a chance, So I think they know that, but
Well,
then
it's funny though, because quite often these things get picked months and months in advance, right?
Yeah.
So most of the scheduling was done before a ton of the hate happened
Mm-hmm.
for Ghostbusters. The Ghostbusters trailer's been up for a while now, but a lot of this stuff gets picked literally 6 months in advance.
I'll guarantee you they had a release
So-
date before they had a script.
Yeah, it's
Yeah.
it's like they literally so it's like they knew. So studios 6, 8, 10 months ago knew that's when Ghostbusters was coming out, and they were like, before all the hate happened, they're just like, oh, just in case that's big, I don't want to touch that. So let's
Yeah,
go.
They take it at face value. They see the name. They're like, okay, this is a classic movie. It's getting a reboot. No matter what, it's going to gain a profit.
Yeah.
So why go against that?
Mm.
But to be fair, I mean, they have Star Trek Beyond next week.
The next week, yeah.
Right.
Yeah, and I think that's going to slay it.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
that should.
If they're gonna make money, it's gotta be this weekend.
Yeah.
Yeah,
And-
we've been. Yeah, sorry, go ahead, CP.
No, I just read that they actually added Wednesday dates. Like they did the Thursday thing that they normally do, like 7 o'clock and 10 o'clock shows, but now they have those on Wednesday too. So
Yeah.
I don't know what the hell that is, but a little
It's a
interesting.
sneak preview.
I remember where you couldn't see a movie before 12:01
Yeah.
Friday that morning, and now
Yeah, I
they're
remember
pushing it back further and further. So
I've gone to see a movie. I once upon a time had gone to see a movie at 12 o'clock at night where it started,
yeah,
and because they wouldn't show it the day, they wouldn't even start it at 8 o'clock.
like the movie's somehow going to change, like if you
Yeah.
show it 2 hours early or something.
Actually, surprisingly enough, it was Lord of the Rings: Return of the King. So it's like they started it at 12 o'clock midnight.
And then you got out at 12 o'clock the next day.
And they had
before
an
the extended edition.
intermission, so it was like, it was a long. I think we got home at like 4 or something. So.
So Al, whether or not my followers, subscribers know you, why don't you let us in on why I associated you so closely to this film in particular, Ghostbusters?
Well, I've been a Ghostbusters fan my whole life. It is literally the first memory I have of my life. Is my first clear memory is watching the original at home on cable, and it influenced me in so many ways. My love for technology, my love for history, my love for movies. So when I found out, they're rebooting it, of course, naturally, I'm going to be a little biased and defensive. This movie, people say it's a part of my childhood. For me, it literally was my childhood. I would go out, I'd buy I'd get bribed. If you do good on your spelling test or whatever, we'll get you a Ghostbusters figure. My grandfather was a volunteer firefighter here on Long Island, and he knew I was in the Ghostbusters, and he would take me to the firehouse, his firehouse, and let me, play around and feel like I was a Ghostbuster. So it's one of the best memories of my early childhood. So, for years, I've been following the rumors, oh, we're going to do a third one, we're going to do a third one. And, they'd only get so far before Murray was the holdout. And I've been following that for years, and it just became to the point where it's like, yeah, I'll believe it when I see it. So Harold Ramis passes away, and, I do a tribute video. And then shortly after the rumblings, oh, we're going to do a reboot with Paul Feig. And I'm sitting there going, why? You could still continue the story. You just incorporate the passing of Harold Ramis into it.
We actually did a whole thing where we talked about how cool it would have been if they'd done a Ghostbusters 3 where they're kind of passing the torch, but it starts at Egon's funeral.
Yeah, something
like,
Yeah. I had an idea where I was like, okay, these knuckleheads don't know what they're doing. So, fuck it, I'll write my own version of it, just for kicks. And my idea was that Oscar, the kid from the second one, he was grown up, and he was one of Egon's students, and he was mourning the loss, and part of him was conflicted. He was like, okay, I want to be a Ghostbuster, but it's too painful, thus reflecting like my feelings I had after he passed away. Because there was a while where I couldn't even look at the movie. I would get visibly upset, because it's like, I guess people describing it as like when the Beatles died, when John Lennon passed away. That was like my version of that. So I incorporated that into that script, and basically he wanted to find Egon's ghost. And there was a very touching scene I wrote where he was like, well, he is not a ghost because he has no unfinished business. Something along those lines.
Yeah.
And, then Oscar would take on the mantle and, part of the new team. So, I did a whole video on that. You could check it out on my pitch. I incorporated a lot of real-world stuff. But it's very much a part of who I am, a part of my childhood. I'm not one of these people that like watches it obsessively every day.
Right.
There was a point where, in my younger years I would. But when I found out Paul Feig was doing this, and I got nothing against Paul Feig, I think he makes okay movies. When I found out he was doing this, and I found out through Midnight's Edge all the blackmail and shady dealings going on behind the scenes, I was like, no, this is. I get defensive because we, the fans, have been keeping this franchise alive for the most part for almost 30 years, give or take.
Right.
And now they're insulting us and wiping all that away and say, oh no, we're going to give you a new one, and it's going to replace. Well, not replace, but
it's going to act like the other one didn't happen.
Exactly. Yeah. Subside. And I was like, why? I've never, Star Wars fans, they always got something new, whether it was good or bad, they always got something new. And I'm a Star Wars fan as well. Star Trek fans were always getting something, whether it be expanded universe stuff or something. Ghostbusters fans, for years, we were the ones building our own stuff when there was no merchandise, we would, I didn't do cosplay because I had a weight problem. I was too big to do it because I have no mechanical skills worth a damn. But I remember going to Comic-Con New York, what was it, 2006, and seeing all the props and everything people made. And I was like, where'd you buy it? It's like, no, we didn't buy this. We built it ourselves. I was like, wow, that's amazing. I would love to do that. And then, they have communities that they go visit sick children and all that. And for years, we kept this franchise alive. Outside of them re-releasing the movie on digital or DVD or Blu-ray, that was it. And now, they're gonna put out a reboot and totally ignore everything the fans wanted. And I got defensive about that, and I admittedly was biased. How could I not be? I mean, it's kind of hard not to be biased against your first memory in existence. Yeah. Your first positive memory. And I just went on YouTube and I just expressed my opinion because I got tired of writing novels explaining it. So I figured it'd be easier this way.
It's easier to talk, yeah.
Yeah. And plus, I do talk about other things as well. I mean, technology, video games, other stuff. But I'm primarily known as a Ghostbusters fan, and I got no problem with that, So, and I'm relatively, I don't want to say antisocial, but I generally keep to myself. But I have found so much love and support on this channel because of my love for Ghostbusters, and that I feel like I got to defend my fellow ghost heads here. Yeah. And I got to speak out and call bullshit where I see it. And go ahead.
Have you been accused of being sexist, and how often?
Not as much in the comments as I thought.
Okay.
Usually from trolls. And usually they're just, trolls I find are just people who are jealous of anyone's success. And I don't consider myself successful at all. I got almost 1,000 subscribers. Like, in terms of, like, big YouTubers like Angry Joe, you guys, I'm a drop in the bucket. But
just for the record, I'm just over 400. So you're way above me.
Oh, okay. Well, I didn't mean to discredit you.
DP's got all the people. I ride his coattails all the time.
And most of mine are trolls anyway. Don't worry. We're all in the same boat here.
I mean, I don't care about what trolls say because half the time I can't even keep up with the comments lately. Yeah. So it's like, okay, oh, you called me that, okay, I'll delete it. That's it. But when, what was it? Judd Apatow called me a sexist Trump supporter. Not me personally, but the man. And Paul Feig is calling us assholes and all that. I'm like, well, how are you supposed to generate sales for your movie when you're insulting the people that's supposed to be for?
That and hypocrisy is kind of funny, too.
The hypocrisy is it makes me physically sick at some points because I'm reading this and I'm going, how do you fuckers sleep at night?
I don't know what you call the black female character, but I call her exactly that. She's a character. She's a stereotype.
I believe her name's Patty or something. Yeah.
Yeah.
Her character name, yes.
I'm sitting there and I'm watching the early stuff and I'm going, does anyone view this before they put it out there? Like, this is straight on a stereotype.
Yeah.
I said in one of my comments, my reaction, I was like, I'm not even black and I find this offensive. I mean, this reminds me of Transformers 2 when they had those ghetto bots or whatever.
Yeah.
I'm sitting there going, for real? Like, Winston was never that. Winston was the straight man who wasn't a scientist, but he actually caught the Ghostbusters and like, hey, guys, maybe this is the biblical end of the world, That's the part of that movie. Winston challenged them and was part of the team. Here, Patty's just, like you said, a caricature. I have trouble pronouncing that word.
Yeah, it's a hard word.
Yeah.
One of the things we talked about was the fact that it was like with Winston. Like, it's funny because you never think any of the Ghostbusters before Winston, so the three guys, they never bring up the fact they're white because why would they?
Yeah, what's
right? And Winston never brings up the fact that he's black because why would he? Right? Like, Winston never goes, well, in my opinion, because I'm a black man. Winston doesn't do that. Winston says what Winston says because that's what Winston says.
Exactly.
And there's never anything racial about any of the characters, right? Like, so it's like Peter Venkman's like, well, in my white opinion, it's like, why would he possibly say that? It's
another thing too is, I mean, granted, this is all from what we've been shown, a gathered 5 minutes or so. There's a bit of reverse sexism with the
the whole movie is apparently reverse sexism.
Yeah, I mean the secretary in the original Ghostbusters, she wasn't really made. She was kind of nerdy. That was all that was to her character. Chris Hemsworth, he's kind of exploited from what it seems. Kristen Wiig is kind of into him, and then he has a picture of himself topless or whatever. Like, it's like, what is this? Like,
here's what happened here. Paul Feig, granted, because of his last name and because of his upbringing, was always sensitive. I get that. From my understanding, he was constantly picked on by bullies and all that, and his friends were, from my understanding, again, this is all what I read, his friends were like sensitive guys and women, So, in a way, even though he's straight, he identified with them. So naturally, he wants to portray them in a good light, but his perspective is, okay, all men are jerks and assholes, and women are motherly and all that kind of stuff, and that's prevalent throughout his films. If you watch Bridesmaids, which I've only seen once, so my recollection of it's very hazy, but I was watching this thing, and it's gross out humor in that, but basically to me it was the female version of The Hangover.
Sure.
And I'm sitting there going, okay, that's fine, that's your gimmick. If you stick to your own material, fine, there's an audience for that. There's no issue with that whatsoever. But to come out and do reverse sexism and then call us sexist when we call you on it, that's hypocrisy by definition.
Yes.
And then you want us to pay to see this. So it's like you injected your political agenda or your personal views on a franchise that never had any issues with it whatsoever.
What I think is funny is there's now a female Slimer, and I never thought Slimer was anything.
Slimer was neither male nor female. He was
Slimer
a ghost.
Was androgynous. Yeah,
he was just a ghost.
He was a ghost that liked to eat. Not James Cameron, but Dan Aykroyd. For some reason, I got the two of them crossed. Dan Aykroyd said he was supposed to be the ghost of John Belushi.
Oh.
He said that somewhere. That's how he wrote him. Because originally, Peter Venkman was supposed to be played by John Belushi.
Yeah.
And obviously he passed away, and that was his way of paying tribute. Because Dan Aykroyd said, obviously John Belushi had a zest for life and all that, and he wanted to reflect that in Slimer. And Slimer was the party animal. That was his way of paying tribute to the friend. Now all of a sudden, there's a female Slimer. What is she supposed to be? What's her name? That married from Willy Wonka. I'm forgetting his name. The original Willy Wonka. I'm forgetting. Gene Wilder. Gene Wilder's wife.
Yeah, I know who you're talking about.
You know what I'm talking about. I can't, for the life of me, I can't draw her name. But what is Miss Slimer supposed to be? A version of her?
Yeah.
I mean, it's like, why is there a female Slimer? Ghosts are ghosts. Ghosts don't have genitalia.
Yeah.
Why do we have to
see him? He's just a big ball, like, or it, like.
It's like
they're going so far in the other direction. I really, I don't know. I'm trying.
It's funny because me and CP have talked about this, the fact that the whole female thing, right?
Yeah.
You don't know, but the big joke is here. I talk about my daughters a lot because I have daughters, but it's like I love strong female characters, right? And so it's like the first trailer came out, and it's like both my daughters who love strong female characters were just like, that movie looks stupid.
Yeah.
And we kind of broke it down, and I kind of said, listen, you take that exact trailer and put 4 guys in there, and we named Jack Black, and I was trying to think some of the other people we named, but we put
maybe
it's like you put four male actors that are currently kind of big like that in that same role, right? And so it's like it's not women, it's the 4 guys. I still hate the movie.
Yeah,
Because I didn't like the jokes. I didn't like the way it was looking. I didn't like all the stuff about it. Had nothing to do that it was coming out of women's mouths.
it makes no difference what sex a Ghostbusters is, because people forget. It's been years since I've seen the cartoon series, but Janine was a Ghostbuster in some of the episodes, right?
Yeah.
I love strong female characters too. Sigourney Weaver in Aliens. Any James Cameron film has a strong female lead.
Yeah.
Sarah Connor. No, that's you're thinking.
No.
Okay. I get what you're saying. Okay.
Yeah. James Cameron, like the Avatar stuff, they had strong female characters in that one. And it's just like,
I mean, you have a female lead with Daisy Ridley leading Star Wars, for Christ's sakes, and no one, for most part, no one has a problem with that. If the character's well written and you can relate to it, you're going to accept it.
Well, you'd be surprised how many people did have a problem with Daisy Ridley, but they all came off as being idiots, because it was like, well, I don't like this. She's good at everything, and that's just unrealistic. It's like, you're talking about a space movie. Shut up.
Wasn't Luke good at everything? Well, Luke was a great pilot.
Luke did everything.
Right? Anakin even. I mean, the kid fucking destroyed the Trade Federation thing at the end of the prequels, and he's 9 years old.
Yeah.
By accident.
Yeah.
I couldn't tie my shoes at 9 years old. I can barely do it now, and this kid did that. And it's like, what are we complaining about? We've seen this twice before, and because she's a woman.
She's a woman, so it's unrealistic, because women couldn't do that stuff. It's not about that with Ghostbusters.
No, it's never been about that.
That I have a problem with. I didn't think the jokes were funny. I didn't like the way the ghosts look. The storyline didn't do anything for me.
What kind of greases me up a bit is the fact that there have been verified stories where they're deleting female comments on their YouTube pages or whatever, and it's just like, guys, like you're making this an agenda.
It's been an agenda since the cameras rolled. It's been that, because according to Midnight's Edge, and they seem to have a really good track record. I don't work for them. I'm just I just watch their videos, and it makes sense. Amy Pastel, the head over at Sony at the time, basically sidestepped Ivan Reitman and said to Paul Feig, who turned it down at first, he's like, no, you do whatever you want with it. You know, and he had his female agenda, which is fine. I'm all for that, but it's got to be where it's going to work best.
Right.
And with strong writing and strong characters, not, we're going to do it as a gimmick, which he has a track record of doing.
Yeah, characters first. Yeah.
Yeah.
Characters over stereotypes would be nice, because
it
seems to be very stereotyped.
In this day and age, it's like, why can't we have, like, if you want to do true gender equality, why couldn't 2 women be Ghostbusters and 2 men? Of different races or sexual orientations.
Yeah.
I would go that route.
Yeah. I was like, why did the non-educated one have to be black in this one? Why couldn't why couldn't the super educated one be black and the other? It's like if, and it was funny because for a while I thought they were trying to make a literal remake. So I'm like, which one is supposed to be Venkman exactly?
Yeah, I thought that.
And then we're like, no, it's not a remake.
There's also that one line that Melissa McCarthy has where she's got like a cup of wontons.
Yeah, the fat shaming.
Yeah, it's just like, man, why do you have the heaviest girl saying that shit?
It's like the lowest brow. I've dealt with weight my whole life.
Mm-hmm.
I've weighed over. There was a point where I weighed over 500 pounds, and I lost.
Wow.
Yeah, I lost 200 pounds.
Congratulations.
That's awesome, huh?
And I've heard every level of fat shaming, whatever. So I don't like messing around with fat shaming at all, because people who weigh that much usually eat because of an emotion.
Oh yeah.
Right, and to see that exploited on the big screen is painful.
Yes and no. I'll defend humor here for a second. As long as you're not saying boo-hoo about something else,
right?
You could do that, but don't cry about sexism. Like that's you don't do that.
I agree with you. Like some of the best comedians alive were heavyset. John Candy,
Sure.
Yeah.
very heavyset guy. you forgot he was heavyset 2 minutes into the movie because you bought his character and because he was genuinely funny.
Sure.
Yeah.
Melissa McCarthy, I just see her as the female version of Chris Farley.
Yes, yes.
Exactly. And I'm like, okay, that's fine, but that doesn't belong in a Ghostbusters movie.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, I remember working when that movie Patty was out. The one with her and Susan Sarandon or something? Tammy,
Yeah,
that's
Tammy,
it.
yeah.
Right. And I was working at a movie theater as an usher, and I remember people just walking out saying, this is terrible, you know? And she's like this in every movie. And I'm like,
Yeah.
all right. So, like, for her to be in this, and she's only in it because she's friends with Paul Feig.
Yeah, she's Paul Feig's golden child.
Oh, God, yeah. Although I'm not totally against Melissa McCarthy. I actually did like her in Hangover 3.
Yes.
I like that movie. She fit well there.
In certain doses where you don't need her to run around and bang into walls, she can.
Yeah.
Spy, she's actually really good in too.
I've heard that. I haven't yet to see it.
Yeah, she does quite all right. I mean, granted, she has a couple pratfalls, but she, for the most part, you take it because the rest of it's kind of okay.
Yeah.
There are two big points that I kind of want to ask everybody.
Sure.
First of all, the Rotten Tomatoes score is currently 78 out of 91 reviews, and 71 reviews are positive thoughts. And then second, who do you think this movie is genuinely targeted at?
Do you guys want to go first, or because I think
no, you go first.
I think the Rotten Tomatoes score. I think there are people who generally like the film. That said, though, I think a lot of them aren't going to touch the whole sexism thing and all that because they don't want to get the back end of the hate, right? So they're gonna say, "Oh, it's good. It's just not great," and then they're not going to touch it, or they're going to touch it and they're just going to brush it over. I read somewhere where it's like man hating babies or something, pay no mind or something like that. But my general consensus is, and granted I have not seen the movie, is the fans are going to rip it apart. I've seen the real fans, I've seen several YouTube videos where they just rip it apart. And the casual viewer's just going to be, all right, it's occasionally funny. That doesn't make it a good movie.
Right.
So that's my thought there. What was the other question? I'm sorry.
Who do you think the film is targeted for?
Well, I think their intention was, let's reintroduce Ghostbusters to a new audience.
Mm-hmm.
Well, what's wrong with showing the original? Just because something's old doesn't make it bad. I've rewatched Ghostbusters not too long ago. I actually did a commentary. Shameless plug here. It's up on my YouTube channel.
Al Smith, right?
Yeah, Al Smith. And it's one of the few commentaries I did where actually they haven't taken it down for stupid copyright reasons. And the movie holds up perfectly. Just because they're not using cell phones, I mean, it holds up perfectly. So
they re-released it in the movie theater about 2 weeks ago. Maybe a month ago. I went and saw it. It was a great time. Sorry, go ahead.
It holds up.
Absolutely.
But if you want to reintroduce the franchise, why not just make it a continuation like Star Wars did?
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? Like Star Wars, it's 30 years later after Return of the Jedi. I have nieces and nephews who see it, who've never seen the original. And they're all hooked into it, and they're like, okay, now I want to go back and watch the old ones, and I will stick along for the newer installments.
Sure.
So why didn't you just do that?
Especially considering there's cameos. Like if especially Bill Murray, if he was the stickler, if he signed on to do a small bit part, have him retire. Like just have him like that. That could be the segue. Just have him, say, I'm done with this, and then you have the new people. Like I don't understand. Like
I had a version, like I said, of my pitch where he was actually the mayor. He became the mayor.
That's cool.
And that was my way of saying, as a writer, I'm sitting there going, okay, how do we involve Murray, but we have it so he's not necessary? So the idea was that he became the mayor, and it was only like a cameo in it, and obviously he progressed, and at the end he donned the proton pack and helped the team out.
That's
and he actually saved the film, saved the guys. But it was also written in a way it was like if he didn't want to do it, we could say, oh, he became mayor and then he retired or something, but you still could do the film. From my understanding, they blackmailed him into doing this.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, there's like Midnight Ed said it was called aggressive litigation to get him to do it. And
because he like did you know he actually owned, like, from what I understand, he owned the
percentage of it. Yeah.
Well, no, he owned the character of Peter Venkman.
Yeah.
So they couldn't do anything with his character without his
right. Yeah. So it's not like
it's like
it's not like you could recast Peter Venkman and you're an idiot if you try.
Yeah.
you know.
Yeah.
It's like that's his defining role. It's like recasting the Terminator. You could try. It's not going to work.
It's not going to work.
But you know, but.
I had a similar idea for what you were talking about, except not the mayor thing. But like me and Steve were talking, and I was saying like they should do it where it's like they're passing the torch, and I was like, so exactly. You kind of have Dan Aykroyd with a new team, and then at the very end when it's like the big bad is there and like they're just about to be beat, all of a sudden you see this stream come from a proton pack, and it's Peter Venkman, and it's just like, okay, listen, it's like he saves the day and goes, okay. Give it to them now. Let them, it's like hands the pack to the kid and goes, okay, don't. Yeah. I'm not saving your ass again. That's it. It's like
in my draft, he actually leads a charge because at this point it's 30 years later. Ghostbusters is a franchise.
Oh yeah.
And there's hundreds of them across the country, and they all like an army of them pull into Manhattan to save the city. And he's the mayor, and he actually earlier in the film. I incorporated this backlash with this film. There was like right to deathers or whatever that were like Ghostbusters are abusive. They're taking away the right to haunt or death or whatever. And there was this whole controversy in the film. I thought that could play off with a lot of comedy. Sure. And as Bill Murray as Peter Venkman as the mayor, as his character, he would be torn because he used to be a Ghostbuster, but he also, has to appease his constituents. And at the end of the film, he makes his choice.
It's very, very meta too. Very today.
If you're gonna do meta, I mean, Ghostbusters has always, in a way, been meta. They brought up the the belief in the paranormal and that, and they addressed it from a scientific point of view. That's what I loved about it, because the original Ghostbusters, you could have easily had them, Red Letter Media just had their own video today where they said they were anti-horror. They didn't fight ghost with the supernatural. They didn't wave magic wands or whatever. They fought the ghost with science. And, at the time that was very meta, and it still is to this day.
Oh, that's another thing. I've read that their weapons aren't exactly the same. Like. It used to be that you trap the ghosts, and now apparently they have various. Oh wait, maybe Peter, I think it was you that told me.
Yeah, we were talking about the fact that like Melissa McCarthy apparently gets to punch a ghost to death.
I did a reaction to.
She has like something in her hands where she's literally, and it says she literally punches a ghost to death. I'm like, how do you punch a ghost to death? I don't understand that.
They're already dead.
The whole first film, the whole point was we can't get rid of them. We can catch them. And then put them aside so that no one has to deal with them. But they don't kill them. They don't get rid of them. They just catch them.
Well, apparently I read too that earlier in this movie, again I haven't seen it, but I read that there's a part where it's like, oh, don't touch that or don't kiss it or whatever. It's radioactive.
Yeah.
Yet later on, she's licking her mini proton guns.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I'm sitting there going, you just contradicted yourself.
Yeah.
Like, didn't you do more than one take of the script here? I mean,
it was one of those things where I talked to CP a little while ago, and I said, I've seen 2 trailers now. I haven't seen one ghost trap yet. Because I'm like, you don't see them throw out a trap to catch them.
No. In defense of the movie, they have something that looks like a genuine
bear
trap.
It looks like a bear trap, but it's like that wouldn't necessarily. It's not like the same thing with the box.
Dude,
where they
I know.
Down
I'm just trying to I'm trying to be as neutral as.
It's taking the idea of a trap literally.
Yeah.
But the audience already knows. The core audience, like you were saying, who this should be aimed for, the fans already know what a trap is. And I think the proton pack and the ghost trap and everything are prevalent enough in pop culture. I mean, they rank right up there with the lightsaber. So I think most people understand what a ghost trap is, even if they haven't seen the movie.
Yeah.
You would be somewhat aware of it. I mean, there was a article not too long ago where they said the Ghostbusters logo is like the second most recognizable icon
Yeah.
in the world. You know, so
Yeah.
like
Yeah.
this whole idea of, oh well, we need a literal trap. Why? We already know what it is.
Actually, come to think of it, if you think of movies,
Yeah.
I don't know of a logo that comes to mind more than Ghostbusters does.
No, I
Because
can't.
there's no real Star Wars logo. There's no.
No, the title, but yeah.
Yeah, it's
Yeah.
not like a picture. The
Yeah.
Ghostbusters logo is iconic.
Do you
Oh,
know
I
what the #1 logo is in the world?
I think it's Coca-Cola.
Nope.
No, I thought it was something like that. Can't, not off
McDonald's arches.
right, right. Yeah, I can see that. Yeah, but yeah, I mean,
What is going on in the chat?
oh, we got chat in here. I can't even see it.
Everybody, well, it's not exactly anything. I mean, they're on a different planet. They're talking about porn parodies, American Booty, Forrest Hump, Nutbusters. Oh, there's something that's relevant at least.
Yeah.
Okay, guys. So you enjoy your porn chat. Back to what we were saying. I apologize.
Okay. Yeah. Let him. It's the internet. Inevitably, it breaks down to porn. So, you know. Yeah. I did.
Peter.
All right. Go ahead.
Sorry.
I was
No.
going to bring up that there actually I haven't seen it because it's just weird watching it, but I do know that there is an actual Ghostbusters porn parody. I haven't seen. My friend once told me, he's like, "Here's a link to the. I know you're huge Ghostbusters fans. Here's a link to the porn." I was like, "I don't want to watch that. That's weird."
Yeah. And for just to let you know, I'm a comedian. I used to do stand up, and I used to have humor about porn, and I actually did a set about parody porn. And my joke, well, we lost Peter. My joke was, how well do you enjoy a movie that you're like, oh, I got to jerk off to this? Like, this is awesome, man. Like, yeah.
I'll never forget this, but by accident, I've seen, not in its entirely, but I have seen an E.T. porno. And after that, you can never watch E.T. the same way. Because I'm sitting there going, who makes this stuff?
Yeah. They had a, I don't know how we got in this conversation. They have a porn based on Walking Dead too, and
that's appealing.
Yeah, yeah, zombies and porn. I just
necrophiliacs anonymous, whatever it is. Yeah, Jesus Christ.
Yeah. So, before the porn, what were we talking about?
Ghostbusters.
Yeah. Please run amok on anything. We lost Peter. He'll probably come back in a second.
Just the direction of the film. It's going to make money. There's just
well, how well do you think it'll do this weekend? Because this literally is the only chance.
I'd be shocked if it reaches over 50 million domestically. Okay. I would be shocked, and odds are the people who are going to pay to see it aren't going to enjoy it because the fans. It's going to be the majority of the fans that are going to go see it opening weekend. And I think once they see it, they're inevitably going to compare it to the original. Apparently, there's a reference to the original every 5 minutes. And then I think eventually they're just going to say, well, the surviving cast is in it, but as different characters. Who the hell wants to see that? And why am I just home watching the original for free? You know? So that's what I'm expecting. I could be wrong. I have no plans to see it. You know, even... Now it is getting good reviews, even though I don't really buy it. If I wasn't insulted, I might say, hey, you know what? I might reconsider. You know, might catch a matinee or something.
Mm-hmm.
But when I'm called a sexist, Trump-supporting asshole, and then you want me to pay you money to see your shit film, it's kind of like, well, I don't care if it's the next Citizen Kane. I'm not going to go see it. So, you know, I'll probably watch it at some point when it's on Netflix or something, just to get a review out there. But other than that, yeah, I don't see it going past 50 mil. I'd be shocked if it does. It's probably going to do better globally, though.
Oh,
Yeah.
They always do.
Yeah, well, it's just more people, and it's a global brand name. So, but I think you're going to have a bunch of pissed off fans across the world now, because apparently it opened overseas in England, and I see a lot of English YouTubers ripping it apart. So
Really,
yeah,
I'm trying my best. I'm actually going to see it.
yeah.
I'm trying my best to
Be
be
fair.
yeah, I'm trying. Like I don't think good thoughts, but I'm trying. You all right over there, Peter?
Yeah, I'm okay now. I think. I hope.
Okay.
I don't know what happened.
They cut you off there.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Everything went. And I'm just like, oh crap. It's happened before. It's annoying.
Yeah. So Al says, 50 million tops for Ghostbusters this weekend. Peter, well, first of all, go ahead and answer the two questions, and then.
What was the two questions again? I know the one was.
Who's the film targeted for? Shit, what was the first one?
How much it's going to make, and who's it targeted for?
No, there was nothing before that too.
Yeah, there was one before that.
Damn it. Chat, were you paying attention? You talking about porn?
The chat's talking about porn. I don't know.
So the target audience.
Yeah, what else? Say like me and CP talked about the target
the score,
audience.
the good scores.
Right.
Oh, I think the good scores are some people being a little hanky. I think some people who want attention. I think some people are literally like knowing that if they give the thing a good score right now and before it's out, because people can't even get a chance to see it yet, their video is going to get more views. So
yeah, but at the sacrifice of credibility.
Oh yeah, it's like they're I'm gonna see the movie and be like, yeah, if I liked it, if I thought it was great, I'm gonna be honest and say I thought it was great. I don't think you'll think it would be great, but if it comes off as being really good, I'm not gonna just say, well, I want to hate it, so I'm gonna hate it no matter what.
Can I intervene for a second?
Sure.
What do you guys think of people that have been giving positive reviews? Apparently, they're getting a lot of dislikes on their channels. What do you think of that? And is it fair?
No.
What?
Not in the slightest, because I'm a firm believer that you have the right to believe whatever you want to believe, like whatever you like, and as long as you're not hurting nobody, who cares what anyone else thinks? If you go into a movie, whether I like it or hate it or bias, and you generally like that movie, who am I to take that away from you? Who am I to criticize you for that? I like movies that I know are terrible. I'm a big fan of the first 4 Police Academy movies. Yeah, I know they're bad movies, but I like them for totally different reasons. I like them because they're part of my childhood, and I like that brand of humor in doses. But who cares if you like the movie? It still exists. No one can tell you different.
Yeah.
And it is a bit odd that people that haven't seen it are raining down this hate too. It's just like
I'm not about raining down hate. I'm just giving it from my perspective. I know for a fact I'm biased. I fully admit that. There is no way I'm going to like this movie. Now, in hindsight, let's say I bring one of my nieces or whatever, and they like it, and I'll be like, fine, you can love it. Go ahead. I'm happy you like that. There's people out there who genuinely love Batman and Robin for whatever reason. I don't understand it, but I respect it. I'm not going to call you an idiot or a moron for liking that.
The unfortunate thing is, well, I guess maybe this is what people kind of get upset about. People who love '84 Ghostbusters, it's still there. It's yours. It's always there. But I guess the problem is, they've already talked about franchising, and maybe it just makes old fans a little jealous that they could get 4 or 5 films out of this direct and not out of
Exactly. You could have franchised. I mean, Ghostbusters. You could have franchised that after 2. The reason I think 2 failed was twofold. One, it was a carbon copy of the original. They played it safe, and they wanted to kowtow to the audience of the real Ghostbusters.
Yeah.
Right.
It was literally that's what brought about the sequel.
Right.
Was the cartoon.
And the second issue was it was going up against Indiana Jones, Back to the Future, Batman, the Michael Keaton Batman. Like, that was a really crowded summer.
Mm.
Right? So, I mean, it never was going to stand on its own as in that crowded environment. And after that, Murray was just like, I don't want to do this anymore, and that was pretty much the end of it. But they tried to get him to do it for years, and he was the holdout.
Him and Harold Ramis also had a falling out after Groundhog Day.
Right, yeah.
Where they went years without talking to each other.
Right.
So,
I actually forgot about that.
That didn't help.
No.
The process where it's like, hey, we want to do a third one. It's like Bill Murray's not talking to me. So
well, I think if Ghostbusters 2 did a little bit better.
Yeah.
I mean, it's just say what you want. I'm sorry, it's not as strong as the first one.
Oh no,
but it had a big opening. Like,
I can agree with that. It's definitely not. Here's the thing, though. The first film has been described on its own commentary and by other people as the perfectly told joke. It definitely was lightning in the bottle.
Mm-hmm.
Any film after Ghostbusters, the original, was never going to live up to that. But it could still continue its legacy and build off its foundation.
Yeah.
This is ripping off its foundation, I feel.
Yeah.
It's exploiting it.
I don't understand the constant kind of like bringing something up just to fuck with it. Like, I've seen the clip of the Stay Puft air balloon. Like, I don't know what it is, but it's just like what
they're saying is we're paying tribute, we're honoring, it's Easter eggs, it's things for the people who love the originals too.
I don't see it as that.
Well, if you're going to do that, why not just make the entire film a continuation for the people of the original?
Yeah. One of the things, like CP was saying, who's this for? We had this talk earlier, like weeks ago, and it's part of the thing is, I think their original thought was, we'll make this film, like, I think the original thought was it's going to be a continuation, and then when they realized they couldn't do that, they're like, okay, so we'll make it, and the original Ghostbusters fans will get on board. And immediately, most of the original, like, I'm a huge original Ghostbusters fan, massive, love it.
Yeah, me too.
It's like one of my favorite comedies of all time, and I was immediately not on board, and I think most of them weren't. And so then they're like, okay, crap. Okay, we're going to throw in a bunch of stuff to try to make them happy, but we're going to make this movie. And then once they realize that I don't think they have any chance of hell of making us happy, they're like, okay, who can we hit? Who's this demographic at? And me and Steve were talking, and I'm like, I think they think it's a kids movie, like a literal kids movie, not like a teenager movie. I think they're aiming for kids.
Yeah, but the original was aimed for adults. I mean, there's a lot of sex jokes in that.
Exactly.
And kids loved it. I watched it when I was 4 and 5. I didn't get all the jokes, but there was nothing.
But like we were saying, like, even the way they make the ghosts look all very pastel, blown out in their coloring and stuff. It's very like it's
Scooby-Doo-ish.
Like, it's very much looks like it's being aimed at kids, and
I keep going back to the Stay Puft scene, the glorious. Yeah. I mean, you hear it before you see it, and you're like genuinely scared because they don't know what the.
What did you do, Ray?
Like,
what did you do?
Ray knows what's going on. They're freaked out. They're like, what the hell did you do?
Yeah.
And we hear it. We're freaked out. Then you get the visual cue. You get the joke.
It's
and
cute.
then you get scared again.
Yeah. It's like, oh, that's cute, but he's going to kill us all.
Yeah. The weaving between scary and funny was just,
Yeah, it was brilliant.
There's none of that here.
Lightning in a bottle. It's one of those things that you can't replicate.
You need that release. You have to build up tension, and then when you have that release with humor, especially Bill Murray, Dan Aykroyd, Howard Ramis' brand of humor, which is very dry, very sarcastic.
Yeah.
It hits it because we could all picture ourselves in that situation. We can relate to it,
Yeah. Whereas it is funny because I've heard people talk to me about Ghostbusters and they go, it's not really that funny of a movie. And I'm like, it is, but they're like, because it's not every minute there's a joke.
Right.
What's the line that Egon says? I'm entirely too scared.
I'm sorry, Venkman. I'm terrified beyond the capacity for rational thought.
Yeah.
And it's just deadpan. He's dead serious. That's who he is. And it's hysterical in the moment. You're like,
yeah, it's funny. But it's like, because it's not a laugh-a-minute movie, right?
Mm-hmm.
It's like, people are like, well, it's not really that funny. It's not really, like, it's kind of just, it's more of a drama than a comedy. And I'm like, it's a comedy. It just doesn't rely on being funny every 5 seconds, because it actually makes space for characters and makes space for a story. And it doesn't rely on, like, hey, someone's going to fall down here, and this is going to be funny, and then that person's going to run around the corner.
You know?
Yeah, it's funny. It's funny guys in a fucked up situation.
Right.
Well, it is. Guys that take
Nobody
time
steps on a church in my town. It's
yeah,
that simple.
Yeah.
And then 2 seconds later, after they fry him, he goes, okay, I've been going about this all wrong. Mr. Stay Puft's in town. He's a sailor. We get him laid, and he'll be fine. You know, it's it's that kind of humor. It's not a joke a second humor.
Exactly.
And
I think that's what they don't understand. You have like genuine humor there. That's it's characters that are within their characters reacting to a fucked up moment, and it's not a cartoon with tits.
Right.
Like that's what the difference is. It's the first Ghostbusters, I can name you 20 scenes where the characters, where you can read the characters being in that situation. Whereas, listen, granted, it's only about 5 to 6 minutes total what we've seen, but it doesn't look too good. They look very cartoony. The stuff that we have seen.
I have laughed at one thing throughout the whole marketing campaign, and it was in the Japanese trailer. That the way the Japanese announcer pronounced Ghostbusters. So that was the only thing I laughed, and that was a cultural
cultural thing. It
was like I don't want to mind Japanese. I don't want to offend anybody, but the way it was like, and then Ghostbusters like that.
Yeah.
That caught me off guard. I was like, okay, that's funny, but that's not the movie. That's the marketing.
Yeah.
So
one of the things that we're saying, like, because of the humor and stuff, and like I said, I think it's aimed at kids. Me and CP, I told CP I was going to do this. I got my daughters, one is 14, one is 12. So it's grade 8 and grade 6, to ask all their friends in school, and they literally stood up in class and got to do this in front of class. How many people have seen the original in the class, and how many people were planning on seeing the new one? And in grade 8, which is like 13, 14-year-olds, 9 of them had seen the original, and none of them wanted to see the remake. And so it's like, okay, so it's like, yeah, that's just one class, but it's like none of 25 kids wanted to see it. And
that's the thing I think Hollywood doesn't get is like kids can tell when they're being what's the word I'm looking for?
Patronized?
Patronized, yes.
Yeah.
Kids don't like being patronized. I mean, up until a certain age, you naturally patronize them because they don't know any better. But I think they reach a certain age where they're just like, okay, stop treating me like a baby.
Yeah.
So
if they're looking for the teenager audience, I think they don't have it. I think like they got maybe they're gonna have the 10-year-olds and under, but most of the kids that I've kind of seen and got my daughters to talk to are both like, nah. Like a few of them thought it looked okay, but most of them were just like, nah, that looks stupid. It's just. So I think they've misread the situation, and like they're like, crap. Better market it to kids. It's a kid movie. It's like Secret Life of Pets. It's Ghostbusters. Yeah, it's like.
No, Secret Life of Pets is obviously killing it at the box office, so I don't.
Yeah.
Kids are going to go see that instead.
Yeah.
Indeed. I really, with what we've, to veer off of Ghostbusters for a split second.
Yeah.
We've talked about it, and we kind of brought it up before. It's so strange. Everything leading up. 3 movies, 4 movies, 2 movies, every weekend except this upcoming weekend.
That weekend.
There's been 3 movies at least coming out. And now everybody's steering clear of Ghostbusters, and it's like, guys, like I would have figured somebody would have either moved up or moved back just to be like, listen, let's people are raining shit on it. Why don't we just try our luck? Because we're not gonna beat Dory, we're not gonna beat Pets, or we're not gonna beat Suicide Squad. Like one of those two, like just
my understanding is you have to make that decision months ahead of time.
Well, Whiskey Tango Foxtrot they released twice over the course of 2 months. Yeah.
I didn't know that.
Yeah.
They released it and then released it again.
Well, I think because I worked at several movie theaters, and from my understanding was, especially with the big budget ones,
Oh yeah.
they got to know months in advance, you know, because wasn't there a rumor going around that they were going to no, this was confirmed, and the Star Wars was originally going to be in May, and then it got pushed back.
Yep.
And then that pushed the other one back until, because they owned Christmas.
Sure.
Yeah.
So they ultimately made that decision, and they incorporated that into the filming of Episode 8.
Yeah.
So.
Well, here's I know that they were planning to make an Amityville prequel, an Amityville horror something.
Yeah.
Which I was kind of excited about, being from Long Island.
Yeah, I'm from. Yeah.
That was in like February. It was supposed to come out April 1st, and they canceled it in February. So that was with like posters out there and stuff. So
maybe they're saving it for Halloween.
They just canceled it outright.
The whole thing.
Yeah. So it's strange what, but you're right. It all depends on the budget. So
yeah.
Yeah, what's out and what theaters or screens and all that kind of stuff. It's just insanity. But I don't know.
Yeah, I heard something about that, but the Amityville, but I didn't see the original, so. But I know of the story. But.
You haven't seen any of the films?
No, the whole thing with the I know of the story of the Amityville Horror very vaguely, but I didn't see the movie because apparently the movie's nothing like what really happened. I'm not familiar with it, but that's what I read somewhere, and I'm sitting there going, why don't you just tell what really happened? That's scary enough for me,
Yeah, I live about 10 minutes from the house. I live 10, 15 minutes from the house. I'm in Deer Park, which is a little north, and the before the Amityville Horror, a guy shot his family in that house. So, like a guy murdered 5 people. Yeah. And then the family that moved in after those 5 murders, they said, "Oh, this house is haunted," and everybody talks about those people and not the 5 murders. So
the 5 murders is horrifying enough.
Right. And they actually cover that in Conjuring 2, and I was like, oh, please let this be the movie, and it wasn't. It was just like an opening little vignette type thing, but it's true. It's the murders are, enough.
Like that was the thing I never got about horror. I'm not against horror. I actually like some horror movies. I think my all-time favorite horror movie is Ash vs. the Army of Darkness, Evil Dead 3.
Yeah.
It's not really even a horror movie. It's more of a splat stick. The thing I never got about horror was, I understand it, I respect it, but it's like there's so many like real-world events that are terrifying. Like why do we need like it gets redundant after a while, like Jason, and like he can't be killed or whatever. It only has like a limited lifespan.
Finite.
Finite. That's the word I'm looking for. Thank you.
No problem.
A finite lifespan, and I guess they do them now because it's cheap, and we all naturally have that dark side of us where the gore and horror we can relate to on some level, like on a subconscious thing, but. Horror's just one of those things where I feel it's a great introduction into filmmaking.
Yeah.
Right? It's a great introduction into it, but it's so hard to do it right or original. Right? Especially when you're doing like Jason or Freddy or anything supernatural and that, because I think that's where Ghostbusters also standed out too, because that could have easily been a horror movie.
Yes.
But they played it straight.
Yeah.
And there was a whole new angle to it, And I think it's that because I've seen Ghostbusters, like no other horror movie can compare to me.
It's scary enough at moments.
Right.
It holds. It certainly holds as the same way Shaun of the Dead holds.
Oh yeah,
kind of both ways.
Yeah, that's the thing about zombie movies too. It's like I'm terrified of cemeteries. Right. Just naturally, I've always been afraid of cemeteries. Even though logically I know nothing's going to happen, but like. Shaun of the Dead in that I could laugh at because it was taking tension and zombies and had that element of humor as a release that Ghostbusters did so well. I'm still waiting for a zombie movie where it's not recently animated corpses, where it's like
Yes.
dead
Yes.
from all throughout history.
That would be awesome.
Let's
Yeah.
have that. Like, but they don't make that. I think the only one that came close to that was Return of the Living Dead.
Yes. Yes.
That's the only one I've seen that like remotely came to that. And the ending
That
is
woman with the half a body on the table.
right, yeah. And she's explaining that was the only zombie movie where they actually thought out why do zombies eat people.
Yeah, the
That's
pain, something like that, right?
The brain kills the pain of being
Yeah.
dead, and that thought in and of itself was horrifying.
Yeah.
I was like, "Fuck, man, this. It's supposed to be a B movie, but this is well written, you know."
Mhm.
So, those are like the two horror movies I actually like.
Short.
Yeah, I do watch The Walking Dead though, but
Peter,
yeah.
Peter, why don't you, since you're going to tap out fairly soon, why don't you give us your predictions and so on for the great big weekend?
Okay. What's out other than Ghostbusters?
Well, go.
Is it literally the only thing coming out? Like, there's nothing else coming out at all? Not even a small movie?
Nothing else coming out.
Okay.
Wait,
Maybe there's something limited, but that never does well anyway.
Yeah, they've got the ticket sales up already for it. I'm trying to get you a picture of what I had before, and my computer's just not cooperating today. Oh, got it. All right, Peter, it's coming. 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 It's coming.
That's what she said.
So this was last weekend.
All right. All right, I'm going to say number one, Secret Life of Pets.
Good for you.
Well, if it does half the business, that's at least $50 million.
Yeah.
And I don't know if Ghostbusters is going to make that. I'll be honest. So yeah, I'm going to go. So Ghostbusters 2.
Mm-hmm.
Frick.
Oh, I should write this down.
Yeah, I was just to write this down because I'll forget.
Right.
And
at least narrate your inner monologue.
Tarzan 3.
Wait. Okay.
Dory 4.
Mm-hmm.
And then I guess Mike and Dave Need Wedding Dates? I don't know. It's like, if it only made $17 million, I'm like, for all I know, Central Intelligence could beat it.
Watch, it'll be something like Shallows or something. It's so weird.
I would love if the Shallows beat it and got into 5th place. I would love that. But yeah, I'm thinking, it's probably. I'm
shocked Independence Day is still on the list.
I know, it's kind of shocking that it's still there, isn't it?
I didn't see it though, but I heard good things. Well, I heard bad things, but it looked good to me.
It's not. It's fine. It's literally fine. If you think that's a good comment for a movie, it's entertaining as long as you turn your brain off and just accept what it is.
Just like the first one.
Yeah, it's fine. It's nothing great. It's not as fun as the first one, but it's fine.
I don't need every movie I see to be an Academy Award winner. Sometimes I just want to have fun,
Yeah, it's for a popcorn movie. It's fine. Yeah. Just as long as you're not like, wait a minute, that doesn't make.
As compared to all other Roland Emmerich movies that made sense, which none of them do.
There's not many of them.
Like, what was the one where they're outrunning the ice freezing or whatever?
Day After Tomorrow.
Day After Tomorrow. Yeah.
I like that movie.
So do I. I enjoy that movie.
Sitting there going, you cannot outrun ice.
Jake Gyllenhaal.
Freezing, yeah.
Peter, let me just ask you prediction, because probably when we come back, you will not have seen it.
Yeah, I'm not going to see it till Tuesday.
Keep listening. Keep listening. I'm not done talking. Okay. I will have seen it.
Yes, you will.
Will I dislike it, like it, or be meh?
You're going to be meh.
Okay.
You're going to be like, okay, it had some funny humor. The story sucked.
But I'm not going to hate it.
You're going to love. You're not going to hate it. You're just going to be. You're going to be mad. You're not. If you come back going, no, I really liked it. I'm going to be shocked.
Okay.
But I think you'll like it enough that you'll be like, nah, it's okay. Yeah. And I think the one girl, from what I hear, the one girl that you like a lot is
Kate McKinnon.
Yeah, is really good in it.
Yeah, I've been reading that too.
And so and again, I don't even know her. I've never seen her in anything.
She's really funny and so.
But yeah, apparently she's like the star of the show. Like she basically steals every scene she's in.
She was the one in the whole new team that I kind of could see fitting in with the original.
Yeah,
that was the impression I got.
Yeah.
She doesn't lean on some sort of shtick. Like she's just
gimmick.
Fun.
She seems just
well,
like
apparently
I'm
in the reviews they say she does, but like I said, I haven't seen it. I did a video where I was going through the character vignettes, and I even said if she was playing like the daughter or niece or something of Egon, all on board.
Make perfect sense.
Reminds me of Egon.
Yeah. Yep.
Which is fine, I mean, it nice tie back to the original.
Yeah, the one that like I just can't wrap my head around is the Kristen Wiig character. Like she's the smartest of them, and then there's that scene where she's like clinging to a table, screaming, "Get out of the city!" And it's just like,
where she can't open a door.
Yeah, like what? No, like they're dragging her out.
No, I know what you're talking about, but there's another scene where she's apparently this superstar in quantum physics or whatever, but can't figure out how to open the door.
Yeah.
I'm sitting there going, that's not funny. That's dumb.
That's sad.
I mean, granted, I have trouble opening a door sometimes too, but I'm not a professor in quantum physics.
Yeah, and the fact that they have the line, "Nobody does quantum physics like you," it's just like, ugh. Ugh, were you
Nobody does
when I wrote that? Ugh.
The whole. I've read the plot outline of this thing. The thing does come off like it was written by a child. It really does. I mean, I don't know if I can go into spoilers here. I know this for a fact because it's been confirmed. But can I go into spoilers or?
Well, before you do, I'm gonna sign off.
Okay.
Stick around now. We'll
okay, sure.
Stick around.
Yeah, you two stick around. I gotta get up at 5:30 in the morning.
Peter, see, this is where the new job sucks.
It does, but you know what? It still has way better broadband.
Yeah.
Being home, you can actually see me. You can actually see my smiling pretty face.
And you're not going.
So it's worth it to get less or whatever. But yeah, so Al, it was awesome meeting you. Thank you so much for coming on the show.
No problem. It's a great time.
I look forward. I'm gonna be subscribing. I look forward to seeing what you have to say about the movie when it finally does come out and you get to see it.
Probably, like I said, it's probably going to be later on that I see it. But I know eventually people are going to be begging me for a review. So at some point I will see it. I just don't want to pay for it right now.
I totally understand. I'm seeing it on the cheap night in Canada. Tuesday night is like $5 for a movie. So
like I'm trying to drop hints at my friends. It's like if you want to take me to see this thing, I won't be opposed, but I'm not paying for it.
I'm not paying any money to it.
But all of them are like, we don't want to see it either, so that's not happening.
Yeah.
But
no, it was awesome meeting you.
You too.
Awesome, like normal dude, and I'll talk to you boys later.
Thanks, Peter.
Thanks, guys.
That was Peter. He'll be with us as always. So, go by all means, guys. There's the spoilers. If you don't want to hear them, here's your fair warning.
I mean, if you don't want me to go into it,
no. Listen, I'm absolutely fine. I think I've read what you're about to talk about anyway. So, guys, 3 seconds. 3, 2, 1. You've been warned.
Okay.
Go ahead.
Apparently, and I haven't seen it, but they defeat the Ghost, which is the actual logo.
The logo, yep.
Which is incredibly stupid, but as compared to everything else in this movie, can you blame them?
And we've seen it too.
Yeah, we've seen it. Yeah, but they defeat the Ghost by shooting it in the dick.
Yeah.
And they're out there promoting feminism and sexism, and they have the balls to call us that. Yet in the movie, they're shooting a male ghost in the dick.
Yeah.
And I'm sitting there going, you just shot yourself in the foot so badly with that, because no one can take you seriously from here on out. It's okay. It's not okay when, granted, very few of the real fans are sexist. You have that maybe 1%.
Right.
Right. The rest of us just have legitimate concerns about our favorite franchise. But it's okay for you to shoot a ghost, a male ghost, in the dick to defeat it.
Mm-hmm.
And the rest of the movie, apparently every man is a moron.
Yes.
Or an asshole.
Yep. I've read that.
That's hypocrisy by its definition, and you want us to pay to see this. And you're talking all about equal rights and everything, and equal opportunities with women in parts and all that. You don't get that by insulting the male audience. You have this as a team.
That and the reverse sexism with the Hemsworth character. He's basically eye candy, where Kristen Wiig, like, he spits out coffee and then
she drinks it. Yeah,
it's just like, what?
That's disgusting.
Yeah.
I don't think there was any gross out humor in the original. Not that I can recall. Maybe Peter getting slimed, but that wasn't even gross out. That was kind of like, well, that's what ghosts do. They travel.
And what was funny was, oh, great, I'm gonna get a sample. Like, it was like,
because there was science involved, and you understand, like, okay, I want to analyze this stuff. And in the second film, that even paid off even more.
Yes. Right. It's lowered down into yes.
So, I don't know. I think not to hate on the film so much, but I think they were well intentioned, and there was a pure motive behind this whole thing.
Mm-hmm.
But they just went about in the absolute worst way possible.
And it seems like they've tried to take like various steps to kind of like dance around things.
Right.
And they're just, up until now, they've made the absolute worst mistake at so many different outlets, where it was just like, what we talked about early on, like right before they released the second trailer. If you remember, there was like a 2.5 month span after that first trailer, and everybody was just fucking killing it, shitting on it. And they did nothing. And we're like, guys, like, put something together, lie if you...
You're starting to break up a little bit. Yeah.
They were running shit on it. Like, I would have made a dummy trailer or something just to get the attention off of that. And they just let it sit out there for so long.
What I would have done, were I running the show over there, was I've been like, okay, we're getting heated on this so bad. There is such a thing as reshoots.
Mm-hmm.
I would have went in there. I said, we already blackmailed the cast of the original. 5 minutes, you take a scene, you create a quick scene where this is a continuation. You put that at the beginning of the film. I mean, yeah, it's going to come off as half-assed and rushed in there.
Mm-hmm.
But then you win so many people back, and then you make that acknowledged. You know? And then I think a lot of that sexism and all that, it's always going to be there because there's always going to be idiots who just think that way.
Sure.
I think a lot of people would have been like, okay, the original team is supporting this new team, therefore they've earned credibility. You get what I'm saying?
Sure.
So, but, they just stuck to their guns foolishly, and I think this weekend's going to prove that it's going to bite them in the ass. But
have you seen any of the cameos?
I seen the Dan Aykroyd one on a commercial,
mm-hmm.
and I was like, Dan, come on, man, you're better than this. Then I remember he did Blues Brothers 2000, and I was like, no, he's not.
Are you gonna blow up?
No.
Oh
no, that's my it's almost midnight. That's my midnight. I've had that watch for years. I can never figure out how to turn it off. Sorry about that.
Just want to make sure you didn't have to be somewhere or something.
No, I'm fine. I got nowhere to go.
Yeah, so for those of you who are in the chat and have already been warned about spoilers, so I warned you. The Dan Aykroyd, the cameo he's a cab driver, and Kristen Wiig apparently is really freaked out, and something about getting to drive away, and the epitome of Dan Aykroyd's line is, "I'm not afraid of no ghosts." He basically said, he gives the infamous line, and like that's what he's there for. No, I just feel so, I don't know. Yeah.
Like, why would you do that? Like, Dan, I mean, you for Christ's sakes, you cameoed as Ray in Casper.
Yeah.
Why couldn't you do that?
Sure. Or even, like, if you're going to call on something from the original, say what did you do, Ray, to him. Like that's a great line. Like have him like drop like a coffee or something and have somebody say, what did you do, Ray? Like that'd be a nice little tip of the cap. Like I ain't afraid of no ghosts. Like
That's it.
yeah.
Wasn't there a joke about that in what was it? Anchorman 2? There was
no.
What's his name? Steve Carell's character. I forget his name.
Uh-huh.
They were talking about the midnight shift or whatever for Anchorman 2, and Steve Carell goes, I ain't afraid of no ghost, or something like that. They were calling it the graveyard shift. Right. And
That's
Kristen Wiig
funny.
was in that one, yeah. But I hear Bill Murray's cameo was absolutely pointless. Bill Murray's cameo?
Is it really?
Do you want to? Have you heard this?
I haven't heard.
Okay. Apparently, Bill Murray is playing almost a Walter Peck-like character. He goes into the headquarters, demands that they release the ghost, or that he sees the ghost, something along those lines. I'm all going off of what I heard.
Sure.
But this is in some of the reviews that people have actually seen it. The ghost gets loose, and the ghost ends up killing him. I swear to you, I can't make this up. I'm sitting there going, you're gonna get boos from the audience at that point. Like I haven't seen it, but I can't picture it playing well.
It does sound like something Bill Murray would want for the amount of disdain that he's had towards all the talks, but like.
But he seems like he's been embracing it too lately. He did.
Right. I read somewhere that he said if he like after everything came to be, like somebody brought up what would you have done if they offered you a position as a voiceover as a ghost? He was like, that would have been perfect. That would actually be really funny.
Yeah.
Where you kill him off like in the first scene and he's a ghost for the rest of the movie. It would have been interesting to see something like that.
I
like
mean,
hang around and you don't really put him in the containment unit. He hangs out with them. Yeah.
Maybe you get to be the I don't know, the ambassador between the ghost world and the real, something like that. There is elements of humor you could work in.
Yeah, you open a whole new avenue of things to do.
But then again, he did do his cameo in what was it, Zombieland, where he played himself, and they killed him off too. So it's not like he hates the character. I never got that impression.
Mm-hmm.
So like his whole thing is like I just don't understand his rationale behind it.
Yeah.
I mean,
I want to know everything just because I'm so. It's just so confusing. Like I can't wait to see it just to be like, all right, well, why? Just why is everything happening the way it is? And
why? Because it's a tie back to the original, and it's a cheap cash grab. That's why. That's unfortunate, but that's the logical. That's their logic of it.
Mm-hmm.
They don't care if they don't care if it's really good or not. They want to make money. They want to cash in on it, and they want to build this franchise, this Marvel Cinematic Universe style Ghostbusters thing, which isn't going to happen. I can pretty much guarantee that right now.
Yeah. I mean, Jurassic World last year.
Yeah.
Listen, it wasn't Jurassic Park, but it felt like there was a spine there. Like it was trying its best. It was a
continuation, of the original.
Right.
They never acknowledged. I'm a huge Jurassic Park fan as well. Mm-hmm. They never acknowledged 2 and 3, but they never said that didn't happen either. And the whole scene where they were in the remains of the original park, that pretty much told you, okay, this is a continuation. We're going off on our own path here.
Right.
We're laying the foundation by paying homage to the original, and then the original happened. We built this park. I don't know how the hell legally that could have happened, but it's a movie. I think Double Toasted said it best. There's like after the events of the first Jurassic Park, you wouldn't even be allowed to open a fucking gift shop in Jurassic Park, right?
Right.
But it's a movie, and then they laid the foundation for more genetic experiments in the military and all that. Now, a lot of people didn't like that, but I had no problem with that. I was like, okay, where else can you go?
Sure.
And that is also hearkening back to, remember in the first film, Dennis Nedry was trying to steal the embryos for a company. Mm-hmm. So maybe there's elements of that story continuing in the new films.
Sure.
That'd be a great
Sure.
thing to revisit, because I don't think that company just would have given up.
Mm-hmm.
You know, so maybe.
Yeah. And it's not like they said, "All right, we're gonna go back to what you guys loved, but we're gonna change everything about
Right.
what like they didn't say, all right, we're gonna take this character and make it a girl. We're gonna take that character and make it a girl.
Right.
Like that's where like this whole just completely upside downing the sexes of everything. It makes it.
It's
Go ahead.
political agenda and bad writing. That's what it is. I mean, you can't do that. You have to first off, you have to respect the audience.
Mm-hmm.
You have to know. I feel you have to know and love what make the original films worked, and you grow and evolve it. The audience will be with you. You could even go off in crazy directions, but if you lay the foundation properly, the audience will go with you.
Right.
You know, you can't do a carbon copy of the original either, because look at Ghostbusters 2.
Sure.
You know.
Well, the you know what, Ghostbusters 2, I was kind of, the one thing that really just grinded me was the whole Statue of Liberty bit.
Yeah.
That wasn't
yeah.
a ghost. Like that
That
was,
was
the only thing where I was like, what?
That was just there because, we have to top the Stay Puft Marshmallow Man. And that was the best they can come with. It didn't kill the movie for me.
Yeah.
As a kid, I thought it was cool.
Mm-hmm.
But when I watched it again years later, I was like, okay, they didn't know what to do here.
Yeah.
It doesn't ruin the movie for me, but it doesn't add anything to it either. You know?
Mm-hmm.
Now, if Vigo the Carpathia grew and there was like a fist fight or something, I mean, then you're going into Godzilla territory here.
Right.
But there's a foundation for it because we already have the Stay Puft Marshmallow Man for the first film.
Mm-hmm.
You know, it might have gone too far in the other direction, but you did nothing with it. She just walks down the street and bashes it on a hammer. Why couldn't they use some contraption on the Ecto-1 that blew apart the slime mold or whatever over the museum? You know, that would have worked just as well.
Yeah. You know, we do talk a lot about the business end and
Mm-hmm.
money here on this show. Financially, from a business standpoint, what do you think Sony's up to? Is it strictly all about creating a franchise that like I mean, there has to be some sort of care if you're going to create what you want to be a franchise. What do you think their end game is with
Sony wants to compete against Marvel and Star Wars and now DC with the cinematic universe. They had their shot with Spider-Man and they blew it. Right? Now that's back. I'm not fully familiar with the details behind that deal, but they do get a percentage of it. But basically, Spider-Man is back at Marvel for all intensive purposes.
Mm-hmm.
Hence why it's called Spider-Man Homecoming, the next movie next year. So, you know, they have no sustainable franchises. So they think, well, what do we have that's, recognizable? Ghostbusters. Let's make a cinematic universe out of Ghostbusters. Yeah, but you went about it in the worst way possible.
Yeah.
Frankly, I just don't think they have a clue as to what they're doing over there. You know, to be honest with you.
I completely agree. You go back and check. There's two companies that I really get very, very frustrated about. Yeah. It's Sony and it's Fox. And Fox got so fucking lucky with Deadpool this year.
Oh, Fox pulled a miracle with Deadpool.
Mm-hmm. They tried not to make it, and somehow they stepped in shit.
Well, I don't know if you watched. I'm telling you, check out Midnight's Edge.
I think I'm subscribed to them.
Yeah, check them out. They had a whole series of videos on Fantastic Four, on Deadpool, like the behind the scenes. Mm-hmm. Basically, it came down to Tim Rothman, who was the head over there at Fox, who's now at Sony. So there's an interesting connective tissue.
One shit company to another.
All right. Apparently, he didn't understand the character of Deadpool, and just because he thought he didn't understand it, the audience wouldn't understand it. So it really is like one of these high-up executives, I don't get it, so therefore we're not going to do it.
Yeah.
You know,
my rich 16-year-old kid doesn't want it, so why would America want it?
Right. Well, people have different interests and different likes and dislikes. What's the harm in trying? Deadpool was done relatively dirt cheap. And they did jokes about it in it, and the audience bought it because it didn't treat the audience as stupid.
Yeah, and I think that's the problem. There's a big difference with a lot of movies from the 80s and now. there's a bunch of high school movies from the 80s where, I mean, any 16 Candles, any of those, Pretty in Pink, any of those movies, they treat the teenagers as adults, and anything they make now, it just doesn't feel like that. It feels like we're going to tell you what childhood is, what teenagehood is, and it's just
pandering, and it's what was the word I used before?
now I lost it.
Yeah, I lost it now.
Patronizing.
Patronizing. That's it. Yeah. Don't patronize your audience. Your audience is smart.
Right.
You know.
Right.
Give them the benefit of the doubt. You know. Get smart writers to write smart material, and the audience will get it. You know. You don't have to spell things out for them. Like this whole film, Ghostbusters. They're talking about, oh, we want to see the development of the proton pack. Why? we got it all we needed in the original. With Egon and Ray developed it. They were professors. You know, we saw them tinkering with it. That's all we need. We don't need a whole first chapter in the development of the proton pack.
Understanding the science behind it.
And the science was pretty simple to understand too. It was basically like the way I understood it was like a magnet, like you know, reverse polarities and stuff like that. That's why when they crossed the streams, it was like putting two magnets of the same polarity together, and they would repel. So that was my understanding of it. I could be totally wrong here. I'm not
It sounds good to me.
Yeah, it makes sense to me. The audience doesn't need a physics lesson in proton packs.
Right.
You know? Okay, good enough. Science, okay, go with it. That's it. So
what do you think of the weapons that they don't need to track the ghosts, apparently? Apparently there's just
you mean the
guns, just random guns.
Beyond stupid.
And the fist thing too, like punching a ghost.
First off, if you're a ghost, you're already dead. Okay, if we're implying any logic or science into this, when you die, your consciousness becomes energy. That's from my understanding of the science of the movie, right? Therefore, you're a ghost. You can't destroy energy. So using a proton pack to kill a ghost makes no sense on a pseudo-scientific level. Because when they just reform like the T-1000,
sure,
wasn't that the whole point of capturing them and putting them in a containment unit? So to ignore that, it's just easier for them to shoot it with a laser beam and they go boom. It's lazy writing. You know, you didn't understand the original, so you know you're doing stupid stuff like that. So I don't know. I'm very analytical. I like to put thought into things. Hollywood doesn't always. You know?
Yeah, sure. Yeah. They either make it really, 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 really too stupid, or it just doesn't matter.
You have to find that balance between making sense but not over explaining it.
Yeah.
You know? It's like Superman flying. Well, he can fly because he's from a different planet and the gravity is different there. So therefore, enough science. Okay, there's some thought behind it, but we're not explaining the quantum physics behind it.
Either a simple explanation or it's a fucking movie. And if you're worried about that, the movie's no good.
Exactly.
That's basically what it should come down to.
You know, like I think a key example of this is Independence Day. Remember everyone bitched about, how can a Mac upload a virus to an alien ship? And I'm sitting there, I agree with you, but the movie did attempt to justify that by saying they had access to the alien ship for years. And so they would understand some technology. And apparently now they evolved that idea in the sequel, that they incorporated alien technology.
Yeah,
you know,
true. That is
so
true.
that's all the science we need. You know, so you have to have some rationale behind it.
Sure.
And when an audience picks up on that will ruin a movie to me more than anything. It's like, hey, wait a minute, you said something and now you contradicted yourself. I can't take this movie seriously. I'm not enjoying it now, you know. But, you know.
These Rotten Tomatoes scores, it's quite interesting. Like I'm looking at a solid score, which is, you know, a tomato. It's either a red tomato or a green splat.
Tomato,
and I see a red tomato here that a slick, entertaining, but not quite ready for slime time female reboot of the 80s comedy classic. That doesn't sound like a glowing review.
No,
it's got a red tomato next to it.
Here's the thing. I've worked at movie theaters. I've been a movie buff my whole life. The wonderful thing about the internet is the fans have a voice.
Mm-hmm.
You got to also remember, and I've experienced this myself when I worked as an usher, there's such a thing as being jaded to movies. When you get paid to see a movie twice a week or whatever it is for a critic, first off, it's a job.
Yep.
You have to see the movie.
Yep.
And you have to write up a report. And if you do that 2-3 times a week, you're going to get jaded. So there comes a point where it's like, okay, good enough, whatever. Let me just write this report, get it out there. The audience isn't paid to see a movie.
Right.
The audience pays to see the movie.
Right.
Right? And they're the ones I'm going to trust their reviews over the critics.
Sure.
Because now with the internet, channels like mine and others, they're going to go out there and they're going to give their honest opinion because they've paid good money to see this, and they're not going to be restrained by deadlines or newspaper political views or whatever. They're going to give their raw, honest opinion.
Well, yeah. Plus, another thing is, if you have slight interest in something, why would you want to hear the opinion of somebody who wanted nothing to do with that movie? You would at least, if you have slight interest, I would think at least you would want to hear somebody who at least had a little bit of interest as well,
right,
and just didn't treat it like a job. It's yes, it's a job, but it's a little different in the fact that you're suggesting something, like you're critiquing. It's like you're not going into it with the same mindset as somebody who would want to see it.
Like that's me if I was ever a critic and people go, what do you think about this romantic comedy? Well, I don't like romantic comedies in general.
Yeah.
So obviously I'm very rarely, unless it stands out to me, I'm not going to give one a glowing review. I'm going to be like, okay, this is another lame brain, cliche-ridden romantic comedy. It is what it is. I have to see this. Now, as an audience member, if I don't want to see a romantic comedy, I'm not going to go pay to see one.
Right.
Right? So, yeah. But that was another thing the fans had a problem with on the internet. Oh, why are you bashing on the movie when you haven't seen it? I'm not bashing on the movie. I'm bashing on what I've seen. Oh, well, how can you judge a movie you haven't seen? Well, I haven't seen it, and I'll agree with you, but the trailers look terrible. I'm not going to go see something that looks absolutely horrible to me. And a lot of people can't, on the internet, they went after James Rolfe for that, the angry video game nerd.
Yeah, he really, I mean, I don't understand any of that.
I don't understand it either.
He simply said he wasn't going to go see it.
Yeah.
I don't, like, the fact that they jumped down his throat doesn't make any fucking sense whatsoever.
Because people have an agenda, and people naturally feel threatened when you think something different than they do. And that's what the internet, there's no checks and balances for that.
Yeah, and it's, it's this reverse sexism. It's this, all right, you're calling this guy one thing because he says he doesn't want to see it because he's not interested in your sloppy bullshit trailer, and you're raining down on him. First of all, the guy covers video games more than anything.
Yeah.
He doesn't cover movies week in, week out.
No, he does the occasional movie.
Yeah.
And that's it. And he even says he's a fan of monster movies and horror movies and all that.
Right.
Fine.
Right.
So, he's not a paid critic. Let him review whatever the hell he wants to. That's his channel. That's why people go watch his stuff, because he has a passion for it. And if he doesn't want to review it, I think on one aspect, some people might be upset that they're not going to get a ranting, screaming, angry video game nerd review of it. Missed opportunity, but I understand it,
Sure.
But the rest of this, he's they called him like a man baby in a basement or whatever. And someone said, I think it was Patton Oswalt or something. Someone
about
said
his wife, right?
His wife or something. I was like, wow, you motherfuckers are taking this shit way too personal.
Yeah.
Man doesn't want to see the movie. Who cares? It's not stopping you from seeing the movie.
Right. And I'd like to say more about Patton Oswalt, but
yeah,
that's dealt a rough hand.
Yeah, I mean, I feel bad for the guy. So that's why, like, I did one video where I reacted to his comment, but I didn't go off on him because, like, clearly the guy's in mourning. And apparently, from my understanding, I could be totally mistaken here.
He's got a connection in
Yeah,
Ghostbusters
connections.
too.
Yeah, his wife had some sort of connection. She knew Paul
Mhm.
Feig or was involved in the production somehow. I don't know if that's confirmed, but it's like,
Mhm.
leave the guy alone. I mean, the guy likes the movie. Let him like the movie. Who cares?
Mhm.
You
Mhm.
know. But this whole thing's just been like a clusterfuck from the beginning. I've never in all my 33 years of life have seen such a fuck up with marketing and what have you. I've been following movies since I was like the year 2000. Like
Mhm.
seriously, like every day I would go on and follow the rumors for the prequels.
Mhm.
And for
Mhm.
years, I was a prequel defender. I didn't get why people hated the prequels. I was like, they're cool movies. Then what I think happened was, as I grow and mature, I went back and revisited, and I was like, okay, now I can see what happened.
Right.
But as you're younger, you get naturally defensive. Oh, you
Sure.
don't like what I like, therefore you're evil. So I
Yeah.
think a lot of that is this with Ghostbusters.
Sure.
Yeah.
Sure.
So
And it's actually in the opposite. I think. I think
right,
so many people hate it, and they're like, "Oh, you got to hate it because I hate it."
right. That's what I mean. Yeah, that's what I meant.
Mhm.
It's just I don't know. I just want the thing to open
Right.
and put it behind me.
Right. Right.
Right. Because it's just like, okay, I can't talk about this.
Yeah, yeah. I think you know what? If the score, like the scores, is what's making me kind of scratch my head. Like 78. Like if they came out to like a 52, I'd be like, okay,
Yeah.
that feels about right. Or 60, 40. I didn't expect like a 3. Not like
Yeah.
After Earth type numbers, but
No, but
78 I didn't expect. Like that was where I was like, eh.
I'm really questioning, and I don't go for conspiracy theorists, but I'm really questioning if there's not some sort of mandate or they're
Mhm.
afraid of some political backlash by giving it a negative review.
Yeah,
Because I think a
yeah,
lot of newspapers like don't you can dislike it, but don't make it blatantly obvious because we don't want to deal with the backlash from you dislike it because it's all women or whatever.
mhm,
I
mhm.
think that's the narrative set out by Sony to counteract the marketing to do damage control. So I don't know. I don't know, but like I said, the fans are going to make the
Yeah,
ultimate decision whether they like it or not. My advice: go in if you want to see it. It's your money. Go in, watch it, and however you feel, whether you like it or not, stick with that. And that's all that it is to it. You know,
yeah,
and that's all you can do. So if you like it, fine. Go out and say, yeah, I liked it. Just don't be surprised and angry when people disagree with you. That's all.
yeah,
It'd be a much better world if we could understand that mentality. You know.
yeah. I
So,
I think we've kind of beaten it dry here.
oh, this horse has been beaten and decomposing for months now. But all
Yeah.
right.
If you're still salivating, Al's got a ton of content on his
Oh
channel
God.
that literally will keep you going for I would literally say days, right?
Days, yeah, because
You
I've
have
been following this from the beginning.
Yeah. So by all means, if you're
Yeah.
still intrigued, go over. I'll have his link down below in the future. I don't have it just yet, but I'll have it if you're watching sometime after Tuesday evening.
Mm-hmm.
Um, but Al, as a guest, what do you think? Where do you think Ghostbusters finishes in the weekend box office?
I'd say 2 or 3,
Okay.
maybe 1. I wouldn't be surprised if it's 1.
Really?
I
Okay.
wouldn't be surprised because of the brand name,
Okay.
but I expect a huge drop off in the following week because
Oh,
Star Trek's
absolutely.
opening, and then it's going to have fan word of mouth.
Mm-hmm.
And so far, the fan word of mouth is overwhelmingly negative. And right now, we're in that period where it's hard to tell what's hate and what's genuine review.
Right. Right.
So, but once I think it opens and then the majority of it's relatively negative, then it's just going to tank. And they'll put it to bed. And unfortunately, I'm afraid that'll be the end of the Ghostbusters franchise for good. But if Sony was smart, they would see the love for the original, and maybe they would do another film that's set in the original timeline or what have you.
Mm.
And that would be, that's my script. I'm not trying to sell myself here. I mean, my script is called Ghostbusters Resurrection.
Mm-hmm.
Where they go back to what works, and of course it's never going to top the original. But
Sure.
you can put the train right back on its track, and you could you open up other possibilities.
Well, dude, it's like we talked about before. Jurassic World.
Yeah.
Not better than Jurassic Park.
No.
A perfectly decent enough movie to reemerge more
Exactly.
movies. Star Wars. Not quite Empire Strikes Back, but certainly better than the prequels and enough to really get people going.
And a lot of people say, well, it's just a rehash of the first three. I'm like, good, that's what it needed.
Yeah.
That's what it needed. And now that they got that out of the way, the sky's the limit. The stars are the limit here. They could do anything now. I just hope they don't do something stupid like time travel or something. But, that's my one concern here, because it's like, okay, we've done everything. What do we do next? But I think Star Wars has so much room to grow.
Sure.
Right.
Sure.
I think Rogue One's going to be the test bed for the spin-off movies.
Mm-hmm.
And then you have an entire galaxy of history you can explore with the movies.
Oh yeah. All those novels and stuff too. Like literally. I mean, they could even just go and do TV shows. Like go to Netflix and be like, all right, we want to cover Han and Leia in between.
Yeah, and you could do
6 and 7. So
you could do it animated or whatever. Yeah. I would love to see an Obi-Wan film with him watching Luke, and I would love to see a Darth Bane movie. That's one of the he's the guy in Star Wars mythology that founded the Rule of Two, that there would only be 2 Sith Lords. I would love to see that, or Knights of the Old Republic.
Yeah. There's a ton of stuff that they really like. You're right. If this Rogue One, if it can do stuff without really being, the Star Wars that everybody knows and loves, then it's just like, all right, well, you know what, we could just throw a TIE fighter in some random movie and call it.
I think there's so much mythology with Star Wars.
Sure.
They can go on forever.
Mm-hmm.
And
but that's basically the point with Ghostbusters, like you said. You don't have to hit a home run. You just gotta, bunt over a single just to get people on base, and then let the next thing drive them in.
They're talking about Sony was talking about a crossover between Men in Black and 21 Jump Street. I'm sitting there going, that's the stupidest thing I heard. If you have to do a crossover with Men in Black, why not Ghostbusters? It fits the tone.
The same city too.
Right? Why not do that? There's elements of humor there. It feels appropriate.
Right.
You could have the Men in Black. They're in secret. They handle the aliens. The Ghostbusters handle the ghost.
Yeah, because Sony's a bunch of fuck ups, and they already made R.I.P.D. That's why R.I.P.D. exists, and that's what they think of when they think of.
From what I heard, it wasn't even that good of a comic. I don't know. I didn't read it, but I mean, interesting concept. But it really did feel like I didn't see the movie, but the commercials was like, well, this is trying to be Ghostbusters, but its own take on it. At least.
Like I said, the problem is R.I.P.D. is basically Men in Black meets Ghostbusters, and it's just sloppy. It's just so.
I think if you set it up, you could do it, but you have to set it up right. I mean, it's like all things. You can get away with anything in film if you set it up right. I mean, you would. Let's go back in time. The beginning of 1983. If I told you there's going to be a movie out there where people going around catching ghosts like exterminators, and you never saw Ghostbusters, naturally you'd say, well, that's a stupid idea. That sounds stupid. But then you see the movie and it sets it up. We're still talking about 30 years later.
Yeah. Again, the 80s. Like,
the 80s, man.
I don't know what the hell it was going on back then, but the ideas...
That's what was going on back then.
The ideas were so fresh and like inventive, and it's just like, where is this stuff? Back to the Future? Give me something like that.
They took risks.
Now.
Yeah, they took risks. I think no one wants to take risk anymore, because why take a risk when we can cash in, make a cheap cash in on an already recognizable brand name? Like, well, that's why Ninja Turtles is back. At least Marvel knows that and is doing well with it. Everyone knows Spider-Man and Iron Man and all that. They're like, okay, we have value in the name. Let's give them a good story too. Now, granted, not every Marvel's movie's the greatest movie, you know, but when you do like 20 of them, some are going to be better than others. You know, it's just how it is. But people go to see it because it's like we didn't have that back then. You know, we didn't have the superhero teams up back then.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm with Marvel there. With originality, I can think of 20 original scripts right here off the top of my head.
Yeah.
You know? It's like, why don't we do a Lord of the Rings style film with religious mythology or something like that? Why don't we do, you know, I'm big into history. There's so many cool events in history I would love to see. I'd love to see the Battle of the Bismarck, the German World War II battleship. You know, that could be an Oscar winner if you're done right.
World War II, believe it or not, with all the movies we have, there still could be 2 times as many. Like, there's enough coverage.
Oh yeah, what's his name? Christopher Nolan's doing one right now. I forget what it's called, and Mel Gibson's doing another one too. So they're hopefully they're going to make a comeback.
Yeah,
you know.
Yeah. The late '90s, it seemed like Saving Private Ryan sparked off a bunch.
Well, actually,
that was
Titanic sparked it, and then you know they took it up. And I'll go back to that Gladiator. Great film. Braveheart, historically totally inaccurate, but great film.
Yeah. You know what? The less accuracy you have, as long as it's entertaining, it's kind of like, oh, okay.
Oh, yeah, you will forgive a lot of historical inaccuracy if it's entertaining.
Sure.
Right? Highlander is more historically accurate than Braveheart. From my understanding, you know. There's another YouTube channel that goes into this stuff. I forget the name of it, but it pretty much says that. But because it's such a well-told story, you don't care after a while. You know? But it's better, you know, when you're doing history, it's better to do actual history. I mean, there's such a thing as dramatic license, but I mean, if you're doing a Titanic film, first off, I don't know why you would after Cameron's.
Sure.
If you're doing a Titanic movie and it doesn't sink, people are going to catch on. You get what I'm saying? So there's so much.
They could redo the Pearl Harbor story, and I'd be kind of interested in that.
I actually liked that movie when it came out.
I did. I can watch it now.
Yeah.
I kind of wince at times, but I'm kind of all right with it.
Yeah.
I would like to see somebody else do a better job, but I'm okay with it.
And if we're getting into this thing of reboots and remakes every few years, why don't we remake bad movies and make them good, like Pearl Harbor?
Yeah.
You're freezing up a little bit.
Yep. It's really fun.
Yeah. Just do that. You know?
Go ahead.
Or if we're getting really desperate for ideas, why don't we outright tell the audience, okay, we're going to do a different take of this movie. We're going to go from a different draft. The audience is smart enough to go along with it. You know?
Yeah.
Like DC, I think they should do Elseworlds. You know what Elseworlds are?
I do not.
Okay, Elseworlds, it's been a while since I've read them, are like alternate history of DC characters. And there was one I read as a kid where Batman was a pirate, right? Okay. There was one where there was a character, and you couldn't do it now because of Iron Man, but there was a character named Steel who dressed up in a suit of steel. And this was set during the slave times. I was like, I would like to see movies like this. Let's do an alternate take of Batman. The audience is smart enough. I mean, how many times have we seen Batman or Spider-Man's origin story? Like 10 times at this point.
I know. All right, Pearl Necklace, we get it.
Yeah.
Okay.
I mean, you know, I liked the last Batman vs Superman. I thought the director's cut was a lot better.
Indeed.
But I'm still sitting there and I'm going, how many times do we have to see? We get the point. How many times can he show his parents getting murdered? I mean, first Joker killed him. Then Nolan did it relatively reasonable. Then now we got Maggie from The Walking Dead in the beginning. I was like, is she going to come back as a zombie? Where's that Batman film? You know?
Yeah, and I think they even show like another flashback, and at least I think Batman Returns they even do a flashback too.
Right. Yeah,
it's just like, all right, we get it. You like shooting the
Waynes, yeah. And for years, I didn't know his mother's name was Martha. I think
Ditto.
I didn't know that either, and I always, for some reason, I always thought it was Elizabeth Wayne.
Mm.
And then when I saw the thing in the movie where it's like, "Why'd you say that name?" I'm sitting there going, "Oh shit, that's right, it is Martha." But where the hell am I getting Elizabeth from?
I never thought of it. I thought they did it just for the movie because same here. I was like,
that's contrived. But then I went back and looked it up
mm-hmm.
online, and no, it's always been Martha Wayne.
Really?
Yeah. But somewhere I saw Elizabeth Wayne though. I don't know. Maybe it was changed in one of the movies or something. But
yeah, it is. It's so strange. Like they want to remake all this incredible stuff, and I guess it goes back to the business end.
Yeah.
They want to go to the thing that made the money.
Yeah.
But I mean, you're right. You know what? Don't take the $150 million risk.
Yeah.
You take the $20 million risk on a thing that tanked. You know what? You scale things in, redo John Carter, and call it John Carter of Mars. Holy shit!
If those two words of Mars would have been in there, I guarantee it would have made more sales.
Double.
Because everyone's sitting there going, "Who the fuck is John Carter? Who's John Carter?"
Exactly.
Right? Well, John Carter.
Do I care about some John Carter asshole?
Why is the guy from Terminator on Mars all of a sudden? Is he that desperate to hide from the Terminator? Fuck, you even do that movie with Terminator the way it is now.
Oh man, yeah.
I applaud them on their intent on the last one. They were trying to start.
Okay. Yeah.
There were good elements of it. I loved the beginning where they finally showed the time travel element and the John Connor winning the war against the machines. I like that part.
Mm-hmm.
The rest of the movie, I'm sitting there going, why? Schwarzenegger's doing his bestest. He was the best part of that movie. I like the whole element of him having to raise Sarah Connor.
Mm-hmm.
I like the intent behind that, and there were some funny elements of that. But I'm sitting there going, can't we just have, if we're going to do another Terminator film, why don't we find out the history behind the guy who was the model for the Terminator?
Yes.
You know,
what's strange is they take part 5 and they say, let's go erase the 2 movies that are really good. And then start fresh. It's like, no. Go back to after part 2 and then fuck around. Like,
I don't get that, you know? Or fuck it, why can't we get a RoboCop versus Terminator movie?
It's like Point Break. Point Break was remade this past.
Yeah, I heard about that.
Whatever, didn't make anything because people are intelligent, like you said. But they fail to realize that Fast and the Furious, this juggernaut that everybody wants.
Yeah.
Universal, by the way, is Disney Light. They have a bunch of billion-dollar properties. Universal has this 8-film series that's basically Point Break.
Yeah.
Fast and Furious is Point Break. You take the thing and then twist it. That's all you do with a remake. Like,
and now they're trying to jumpstart the classic monsters.
Yep.
Right.
Yep.
And I actually agree with that. It's like, oh, that's a reboot I can get behind.
Mm-hmm.
I like Dracula Untold. I didn't love it.
You
didn't like it?
Mm-mm.
I liked elements of it. I'm not gonna say it's a great film, but I thought.
It's hard. It's hard to do stuff like that today. I feel like something like Dracula, you can't go too gritty. You have to kind of.
Dracula is a very hard character to nail.
Yeah, the story's
unintended.
Grand. You can't like realize it. Like it's the guy's.
I think the problem. I like the actor in it. What's his name? He was in the Hobbit movies.
Yes. Yeah.
I thought he did good. I thought the story was cliche and hokey, but they had good parts in it. I felt. I was like, okay, they're trying to incorporate some element of real world history.
Sure.
It got stupid though. But to me, it was like, okay, this ain't terrible. I've seen much better vampire movies.
Mm-hmm.
But I get what they're going for.
I feel like if they Marvel it and they remake Monster Squad and then have that,
Yeah, that would. I think they're trying to do that.
I mean, listen, it's a hokey idea, but you can, if you ground the Monster Squad idea and don't make it so silly, and then branch off from that. I
Well,
don't know.
that's a very hard thing to do because when you're doing a revival of a character, you have to stick true with the character traits.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
But you also got to realize some characters were clearly a product of their time.
Yes. Yes.
Right?
Yes.
So, like Frankenstein, it can work today. It's much harder to do it because people aren't really afraid of it. You have to really nail the script.
That's absolutely. I couldn't have said it better.
Right.
I mean, so it's like cowboy movies. Just they just kind of don't really work anymore because
like the last great cowboy movie I seen was Tombstone. Maybe 3:10 to Yuma, but I barely. I liked it, but I don't remember much. I only saw it once. Tombstone's one of those films I watch every year.
Sure, sure.
Cowboy. The reason why cowboy movies, the Western, died because we entered the space race, and little kids didn't want to be cowboys anymore. They wanted to be astronauts, and that's why the sci-fi boom went off. So, I mean, it's very hard to do, and everyone's thinking franchise now. Franchise. My advice: nail the first film.
Yep.
Have a plan for a franchise. Get the first one right, then build on it.
Sure.
I absolutely hate when I go see a movie and story plot lines are unresolved. Oh, we're going to explore that in a sequel. Well, no, you're not. If the movie tanks, you're never going to explore it.
Yeah. I feel bad because you know what? Hey, remember what this is? This is a movie.
Yeah.
You're not creating part 1 of 6. They're taking that for granted, and it's getting kind of annoying. Like I feel bad because I'm one of those people in a couple of instances. But there are people out there that like, some film that didn't get made into a trilogy, but they don't have a complete story because they planned on making another one, but never really finished the first one because they were going to do it in the second one. But guess what? They didn't make any money, so no second.
Right. Yeah.
It's like,
make a beginning, middle, end.
Right.
You want to have room to expand later on? You want to have that option? Great. Yeah. Just don't. Okay, we're going to tell you 2/3 of a movie and then up to be continued. That doesn't work at all, unless you're filming the stuff back to back, like the Lord of the Rings movies or something. Because then you already know, okay, the next one's coming out later on. Even then, it doesn't always work. Because like they said with the Hobbit,
and we're actually to get that with all these young. Oh, was that me or you?
That was
Did you get
someone? I don't know.
We're starting to get that with the young adult book translation. I think both Maze Runner and Divergent are kind of in trouble because Divergent's third movie didn't do too well.
Right.
And Maze Runner's second movie didn't do too well. And they're both supposed to be at least 4 movies, I think. And it's funny, it's like, hey, guess what? Sometimes you don't fucking make money.
No.
And, you just can't print money just with these names. Like, now what?
I think use the trilogy format. If you're going to do multiples, have a story that spreads out over a trilogy, but make each individual chapter mean something, not just be a setup. Look at the classic Star Wars trilogy. Star Wars works well on its own. Empire expands and grows on that. Now, Empire has its end. There's a cliffhanger.
Sure.
But it's a complete movie in and of itself. Obviously, Return of the Jedi is the resolution, but it builds on the foundation of the last film.
Sure.
Do that. Don't just do, okay, we're going to have half a movie and then, continue. We're going to continue in part 2.
Yeah.
No. Have an entire story, and then you have another story that builds on that.
Yeah, I think it's funny that they've got this, sort of like a television cliffhanger mentality.
Yeah.
But, as far as America is concerned, television couldn't be better right now.
No, television's breathtakingly, amazingly good at this point.
Right? Listen, if you want to do something like that, go make a fucking TV show and take 10 hours to do it.
A TV show, you have time to marinate and stretch out the story.
Mm-hmm.
Like Breaking Bad. I
Mm-hmm.
didn't watch Breaking Bad in its original run, but the story was so good, I binged it. I
Yeah.
binged it the whole way. And I almost never did that because
Mm-hmm.
there was a story, each episode built on the next, and it progressed.
Sure.
And plus I felt like it felt like almost like a novel or series of novels.
Mm-hmm.
You know, same thing going on with its prequel, Better Call Saul.
Mm-hmm.
It's standing out on its own, but it has its nice throwbacks to Breaking Bad.
Sure.
TV's the way to go. Hell, we could even, if you're going to do a Ghostbusters thing, not to get back to the topic, I don't see why a Ghostbusters TV show couldn't work.
Yeah, especially.
Yeah.
You don't have to get too crazy with the CGI.
Right.
Netflix has got money to piss. Like what?
Right,
Why not?
yeah. Netflix is killing it with the Marvel shows, I think. Daredevil's breathtakingly good.
Mm-hmm.
I'm not into politics, but I hear wonderful things about what's it, House of Cards.
Yes.
House of Cards apparently is like one of the better shows out.
And you know what? Walking Dead.
Exactly.
Is they spend a lot of money when they shoot a lot of the big zombie things, but they only do it like 3 or 4 times a season. You can kind of do that with Ghostbusters, where you have like a major moment where they're chasing a ghost, and then maybe develop like you could even make it like a crime thriller for 2 or 3 episodes,
like
where they're trying to chase one or something.
CSI Ghostbusters or something, where they have to find out the backstory.
Uh-huh.
And there's elements of that. It's like, okay, not every ghost they have to trap in a containment unit. There was an episode of the cartoon series. I have the box set on there. I haven't watched it in years. Where Ray had a cousin that bought a farm or something, right? And it turns out the farm had a family cemetery that the plots were, the headstones were removed. It was basically the plot of Poltergeist.
Okay.
Right? And obviously the ghost of the family came up, and they were haunting the Ghostbusters or whatever. And Ray actually set up a thing where he addressed them and it's like, no, you can go be at peace. We'll help you at peace. They didn't trap them in the trap. Okay. And that was a great story because you found out about the history of these ghosts. You could relate to them. You actually felt for them. And it evolved the Ghostbusters because it was like, okay, we're not just about, we're going to catch the ghost, put it in the trap, put it in jail.
Mm-hmm.
We're going to help these people out. Again, my script, I use the element of, you ever hear of Hart's Island?
Doesn't sound familiar, but
okay. Hart's Island is like a island just north of Manhattan. It's where all the people in cemetery.
Yes, I do know what you're talking about. Yes.
Right. My script had.
Do you currently live in New York?
Live on Long Island. Yeah. Yeah.
Dude, we're basically neighbors. I live in Suffolk County.
Oh, yeah. So do I. Right. Yeah. I live in Brookhaven.
Oh, Deer Park.
Yeah. So. My plot was I want to incorporate that because it's a very little known island, and Ghostbusters I think works well when you have an actual historical element to it because it makes it a little bit more grounded and real.
Isn't that where they filmed oh no, the movie with Michael Douglas and shit. All right, keep talking. I'll get back to you.
Hart's Island is basically Potter's Field for all of New York, right? So, there's a lot of lost records. There's a lot of people who end up missing, and the deceased are buried there, right? So I had an element in my script where Oscar went to the island and obviously was haunted because there's so many lost souls there and got an army of ghosts to help fight the evil ghost, I thought that, it's kind of, in hindsight, it's kind of too much like the end of Return of the King. But I mean, it fits. It's but at the end of the film, Oscar tells all the Ghostbusters to, at this point there's an army in them, an army of Ghostbusters, contain the Hart's Island ghost. And it's like, why are you doing that? Because what they're going to do is they're going to open the containment units and suck in all the bad ghosts, and trapping the Hart's Island ghost would actually save them. And at the end of the film, Oscar would be like, okay, now you can go make peace with your relatives and let your story be known. But if you get out of line, we're going to trap you.
The film was Don't Say a Word. And
They
actually did film there, yeah.
Okay, I haven't heard of it, but I'll definitely check it out.
It's an older movie. I don't think it really has anything to do with Hart Island. I just know they filmed there, so that's
Okay.
it has nothing to do with the story of the island itself.
Yeah, but I think that I read about that, like Halloween or something.
Mm-hmm.
I said, why don't we have something with that? You know?
Yeah, you know what? They could they could even take like mood with it too. Like take like real life, like ghost stories, and kind of take like a little X-Files type angle with it.
Ghostbusters, X-Files, or CSI or something.
Mm-hmm.
You know, here on Long Island, there's plenty of haunted stories, like the Lady of Riverhead Lake or whatever. It's like apparently every year there's like she's the spirit of an Indian princess or something that every year she drowns a young boy or whatever.
I mean, Amityville too, another one.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, you know, you could go crazy with a Ghostbusters TV show. You know,
it's just so strange. Like, is there really not enough money? Like, it's strange. The better stories are being told on television, but the bigger, like, stupidity-filled, fireworks shows are now movies. Like, it's so backwards.
I think it's a matter of, because you only have 2 hours to tell a story in a movie.
Mm-hmm.
Whereas on TV, you have, if it's successful, you have multiple seasons, and that 22 hours a year,
or 13,
right, or whatever it is. And movies got to, movies only have a short window to make their money in.
Yep.
Yep. So, Marvel's doing a new Marvel film once every 6 months.
Mm-hmm.
Star Wars is now every year. Obviously, as it gets more successful, it's going to be sooner. TV, you got to do 1 or 2 seasons a year if you're successful.
I think the problem is movies. There's a bigger bang,
right?
Less.
It's like, more an upfront cash grab.
Yep. You're putting $100 million in, and you're hoping for about 300 back.
Right.
Where television, like, it's really hard to get that money back.
And if you don't have a hit in the first few episodes, they cancel you. So television's a bigger risk.
Well, that's where Netflix comes in.
Oh,
like, here, give us, what if the show sucks? We're not going to take another season, but at least you have a season.
Yeah, and that's the brilliance of Netflix. It's like with Daredevil. I can watch the entire season in one binge.
Mm-hmm.
You get what I'm saying? Or I could pace it out, maybe 1 episode a day or whatever, and I know at least I'm going to get a complete story. Whereas if I have to wait for it to be on Fox or CBS or whatever in the fall, I got to wait every week, and then there's Christmas break and football season and all that interferes. I don't want to sit through that, So I'd rather get the whole story up front.
Episode. Oh,
yeah. It's.
I'm sorry. Repeat yourself. I lost you there for a second. I was talking over you.
With movies and that, with Netflix, I get the whole series when I want.
Right.
Watch it all in one binge, or I could space it out however I feel. I don't gotta wait for it to be rebroadcasted on TV or whatever. If I miss an episode on TV, I gotta go buy money. I gotta go buy the previous episode and what have you. Netflix, I pay my $7 or now it's $9 or whatever up front, and I got access to the whole catalog.
Sure.
And I can watch it whenever I want, and I know I'm getting a complete story.
Yeah, and it's funny. Every now and again, like I liked Bloodline last year. I don't know if you've seen it. It's a Netflix show.
I've heard of it. I'm trying to place it.
About a family that owns a hotel in the Florida Keys, and there's a bit of a cover-up.
Okay, I'm not familiar with it.
Yeah, no, it's really kind of hard to explain. Actually, it's the first season, it's a story. If they never did anything else with it, I'm fine with that.
Yeah,
but it did all right. They did a second season.
Right.
I'm intrigued. It's a little interesting to see where they went with it and plan to go further. But it's like you said, like. If you don't plan, if things go to shit, like at least you have your story there.
Yeah, your whole segment there that's completed.
Right. It's not like you're shooting 3 episodes and then you get canceled. And it's like, well, what about the people that actually enjoyed the
It's not fair to them.
Right.
I'm a big Terminator fan, and
Oh, the Sarah Connor.
oh god, the way they ended that, I was like, okay, now it's getting good. Nope, we're
Mhm.
canceling it.
Prison Break 2 is another one that they kind of really got really lopsided about towards the end there.
And I noticed this now with movies. They're transitioning to TV shows. They're remaking Lethal Weapon's going to be a TV show this fall. What else? Training Day, which looks okay. I mean, Bill Paxton's in it. The great Bill Paxton. I'll watch almost anything he's in. What else they were doing? They were going to do a Beverly Hills Cop TV show at some point or something along those lines. I mean, ultimately, it's going to reach the point where it's reboot fatigue. It's not sustainable.
Yeah.
Right? Because what are we going to do? We're already on our third reboot of Spider-Man. We're already on our second reboot of Superman. Granted, Superman at that point needed a reboot, and I feel they got some elements right, they got some wrong, but what's the next 20, 30 years of movies? Just, let's restart this character again and again and again and again. That works great for comic books, even for video games, different medium. Odds are with reboots. I've seen Superman's origin story 2 or 3 times at this point. Batman's like 20. Spider-Man's at least twice. Where do we go from here?
Something's gonna have to fail. Like something that, like whether it be like a Captain America movie or something, where Marvel, it's gonna probably be Marvel. Where they're comfortable and they take their eye off the prize for a split second, and it fails. Then everything, because the whole idea of movie making is, you don't know. You can't plan too far ahead. Right up until shoot day, you don't know what you're doing. What Marvel is doing, planning right up until 2025 and things like that.
Mm-hmm.
That's not the way movies are made. You don't plan like that. Like it's kind of insulting to any other movie where like people are struggling to get pennies together to make crime drama.
There's a lot of untapped original ideas.
Yes.
And then you have these major studios with these major franchises that have plans for the next 10 years.
Right.
And it's like, well, it's great. Don't get me wrong. It's great to have a plan as long as there's a story behind it that backs it up and supports it. But eventually you're going to hit a brick wall.
Mm-hmm.
And Spielberg said it best. Eventually superhero movies are going to go the way of the Western.
Mm-hmm.
You're going to get fatigue of it. And I already felt that this year. I've seen Deadpool, which was amazing.
Mm-hmm.
I've seen Batman vs. Superman, which was good. It wasn't great. It was good.
Mm-hmm.
Captain America Civil War, which I loved parts of. I thought that was one of the better ones, but I thought Deadpool was slightly better for my personal taste.
I agree.
And then we had the last X-Men movie. And even that felt like they were still setting up more stuff. And I'm like, I'm kind of X-Men'd out at this point. I'm superhero fatigued, And I'm kind of glad we're at a break right now with this month, that we're not getting anything major. And I'm hoping Suicide Squad is good and rejuvenalizes my passion for it, because it's not a superhero movie, it's a supervillain movie.
Yes.
And it's a different take. It's it's like the Avengers with supervillains.
Yeah. Yeah, so, right.
So I'm hoping.
I just wish it were R. Like the PG-13 thing is.
They got to play it safe. I agree with you, but I mean, you don't get as many tickets with R ratings.
Listen, that Deadpool thing, if it
Deadpool
anything.
Deadpool actually supported that though.
Yeah.
Deadpool's character.
Yeah, you're right.
Yeah.
You're right.
So I can understand okay, the Joker and all that. Some comic books, he's absolutely brutal psychomaniac. And then, but his general image in the public is he's a bad guy. He's not like a rapist or a pedophile or something. You get what I'm saying? You can't go too far with the character. So, that limits the character too. And if I came to Warner Brothers and said, well, I'm going to do a movie where the Joker's a cannibal, that movie wouldn't get made.
Right.
It's like, no, I want to explore this aspect of the character. They're like, well, no, that's too far in the other direction. So, it's all who's signing the checks and green lighting the movie. You know.
Yeah, and it makes me feel bad because Warner Brothers, they, for as much as Marvel plays it safe and they have their formula and they do it right, Warner at least you get the hint that they're
willing to take
trying.
risks. Yeah.
Right. They're like, well, let's see what happens if we do this.
That whole sequence in Batman vs Superman, the Mad Max like sequence, that could have blown up in their face, but I felt that was one of the better parts of the movie.
Yeah.
That's where I saw that. I was like, see, we could do an Elseworld Batman where he's a pirate or, post-apocalyptic Batman. People will see that, but it all depends who's signing the check. And unfortunately, it's not us. All we can do is make our opinions known. And if the studio is smart, they'll listen to us and they'll take our advice, or they'll hire people, people who have a passion for it. And hopefully they'll bring that passion towards it, and you'll get good movies. I mean, whoever wrote Ghostbusters, I doubt she had the passion for the original as us fans did.
Was it a she? That would.
Yeah, I forget her name now. She also wrote The Heat, that Melissa McCarthy, Sandra Bullock movie.
Oh no.
Which I didn't want to see at all. I saw 5 minutes of it with a group of friends who aren't as big movie buffs as I am, and I distinctly remember we were watching The Heat, and they look at me and was like, "Do you really want to watch this?" I was like, "God, no." And they turned it off, and they actually paid to rent it.
Paul Feig and Kate Dippold.
Kate Dippold, that's her name, yeah. So, for all I know, she could be a talented writer. It's just the director, Paul Feig, could just, I don't know. He did direct The Heat, right?
I'm
thinking.
I would believe so. Let me click on that.
All right.
He did.
You got a sip of water.
Yeah. All right. So she was a television writer. She wrote for Mad TV, Parks and Rec.
Okay.
The Heat, Ghostbusters, and currently writing The Heat 2.
They're making a sequel to The Heat?
Yep.
Well, they have to be, because she gets, I think the standard fee is like $200,000 for a script or something. Someone's spending money on this?
Must be nice.
I mean,
Untitled mother-daughter action comedy project.
Oh, yeah, that sounds great. Then again, it could end up being good. Yeah.
Goldie Hawn and Amy Schumer.
Isn't that just a reverse version of that Stallone movie? You know what I'm talking about?
What's funny is Goldie Hawn's daughter is an actual actress. Like Kate Hudson is.
They're decent actresses.
Hudson.
I'm thinking of that movie now. Stop and My Mom Will Shoot. I'm like, it didn't work. It didn't work 20, 30 years ago. I mean. I don't know. But then again, let's take ideas that didn't work in the past and see if we can get them to work now, So,
yeah. I don't know. So we've pointed to this weekend as some sort of, I don't know, because the year's just been strange. It's if you're a cartoon, you're going to do fine. That's pretty much been proven. Otherwise, it's been so weird to figure out, and I really feel like this is where it all comes down. If Ghostbusters ends up making like 80 million, I don't know what life is. If it makes less than 20, then it's like, okay, the internet is very strong.
Well, let's look at a positive. Let's say it is a huge hit. Okay, that opens the door for maybe a better film later on. You get what I'm saying?
Yes and no, because if it's a hit, they're going to say, okay, this worked.
But I don't see Paul Feig after this one returning to do another one. You get what I'm saying? Because there were reports that he was actually crying on set.
I read that they didn't really technically finish the film until like 2 weeks ago.
Yeah, because there was rumors that the actresses were infighting, and they got the budget cut just before they started shooting. And there were reports that Sony outright regrets doing this. Of course, they're not going to say that because it's going to hurt sales.
Right.
But there were reports of that, and I don't see him returning to do another one. I just don't see it. So if it is a success and we do get sequels, I mean, it's not impossible that we could get another good Ghostbusters movie. It's not impossible that we can't get the reunion film we all wanted. There's no reason for that, because you could incorporate some bullshit like they did in Star Trek with alternate timelines or whatever. Maybe the two meet or something. I mean, it's convoluted, but at this point, it's better than nothing, you know?
I don't think Harold Ramis would be completely against them going forward.
Right.
Just, you know, either you don't mention him, or you, I mean, there's ways to do it. Like, if they're going to keep making Fast and the Furious movies, they can keep making.
Well, you don't. Here's the one thing you don't do. You don't recast or CGI him.
Right.
You don't absolutely do that, because that's going to blow up in your face. What I would do is acknowledge reality. Yes, he died, so make his character die in universe.
Yeah, that's we brought that up a couple weeks ago. He's doing a dangerous job.
Right.
Like, just have it be something that, you know,
or maybe of old age or something. I mean, let's inject some reality. We're not going to CGI Bill Murray and Dan Aykroyd and everyone younger. Get them in there, let them have the passing of the torch movie, and then retire their characters.
Yeah.
You know, the same way Leonard Nimoy did with Star Trek.
Yes.
Do that. There's nothing wrong with that. But, you know, we couldn't go that route because money, you know.
Women
upside
down everything.
Yeah. But I this was Paul Feig's agenda. This is his agenda film. This is not what the fans wanted. And
it's funny. Like, it's one thing to make a movie that's you're doing it for a certain reason, and then there's a certain point where you're knowingly giving people the middle finger. And then, like, he was going on shows as early as 2 weeks ago, saying that we purposely, you know, want to ruin people's childhoods. It's like, dude, like,
how does that help you?
Right. Like why? Like, are you proud of yourself? Like,
you would have gotten a lot more credibility, and that's like, you know what he's doing now, because the movie's about to open. Oh, give us a chance. Give us a chance.
Right.
You got so much more credit. Or even after, if this thing blows up, if he were to come out, he and Sony would say, hey, this was our intent. We misread the audience.
Sure.
We apologize. You have the audience right back there, and then you give them what they want. That's the golden rule of Hollywood. Give them what they want. Because that's what's going to drive ticket sales. But
yeah. I don't know. I read female Slimer. I've seen scenes of Chris Hemsworth looking like a fucking honk buffoon.
Yeah.
Kristen Wiig is, you know, very, very awkward with her being the I don't know, the smart character. The shooting the ghost in the nuts, like
hashtag shot in the ghost stick.
Yeah. And then apparently Zool is
at the end. Yeah. And I'm like, first off, why do we need Zool? We got a movie and a video game with Zool. Zool, you know, when I think of Ghostbusters, we think of Slimer more than anyone, or the Stay Puft Marshmallow Man. Zool's like an afterthought. I'm a great villain, but can't we create new villains? In fact, I'd like to see Vigo make a return. I think the character is strong enough, you know. He didn't do nothing in the second one. I mean, his whole thing was, I'm a painting that's going to become a baby. But his history was there, you know.
Yeah, or even like the Marshmallow Man, like there was a brilliant character, man. Like,
oh, did you? You probably didn't see it. It's decades since I've seen it. But there was an episode of the real Ghostbusters where it was all about the Marshmallow Man. And he turned out, and it's been so many years since I've seen it, but I recall he was like a lovable giant that was just like hung out with the wrong crowd, basically, with Zool and that. Like, you felt for the guy, you know?
That's funny.
And he was like friends with Slimer and all that. I mean, it got hokey at the end, but I mean, when you're 5 years old, you're thinking, oh, you feel bad for Stay Puft.
Yeah. I don't know. For as much as they're saying this is different, it's something else.
No,
They just keep making references, though. It's just like, well, what the fuck is it? Is it something else, or is it the same shit? Because you keep bringing the same shit.
yeah. If you were gonna remake Ghostbusters, totally from the beginning, take Dan Aykroyd's original idea of it being set in the future, and having it being like a government agency. That was the original. Apparently, I haven't read it. I don't think it's publicly available. But apparently, the original script was like a phone book size, and it set place in the future, and ghosts were much more prevalent, and it was like an everyday thing.
Mm-hmm.
So if you're gonna reboot it, just go the extreme.
Yeah, well, you know what when I felt Paul Feig maybe didn't really have it the way, say, J.J. Abrams did for Star Wars, when he said, I needed to have the Ecto-1 in Ghostbusters because that's what he thought of Ghostbusters was the car. I'm like, man, that's the thing that you think about when you think of Ghostbusters is the car?
You don't even have the Ecto-1 in the movie. You have a bad cosplay looking version of it. I mean, it's sad that like the Ecto-1 in 2016 looks like ass, and the one from 1984, which is supposed to look bad,
right?
It's a classic design. I mean, it has streamlined and it has all that weird crap on top of it. I mean, I have the Lego version of it literally right here. It's a classic.
Oh, that's awesome.
Design. Yeah. I saw there's a story to this. This was hard to find originally.
Can you hold it up again?
Oh, sure.
That is awesome.
Right. Yeah, and it even comes with little Lego versions of the team. Well, let me show it.
That's really cool. Oh, wow.
Yeah, see? So I saw this in like a clearance section in Toys R Us or whatever, and I'm being the nerd I am. I let up, holy shit, yeah, there's kids around me, right? I was like, and I was with a friend of mine. It's like, you are lending me $50, or I'm not driving you home, right? So it was something like that. It was cheaper than that, and I got it, and I built this thing. I did a thing of it on YouTube. It's one of my most cherished possessions. Now I find out they actually have a Lego Ghostbusters firehouse.
Oh, wow.
Fit. Yeah, guess how much it cost? $300. Yeah.
Oh.
I was like, I'd love it, but I ain't got space for it, and I ain't got $300 for it. The day I hit the lotto is the day I get it, So, but yeah, I mean, it is what it is, and let's just hope this movie, there is a shining light that comes of it. If anything, it just goes to show the love of the original and how protective fans are and how much love that film has.
Well, you know what? Let me close this out with that. You have literally days worth of material of you really leading up to this movie, kind of dreading it. Not dreading it, but just kind of second guessing the choices they're making.
Yeah.
Can you see you, Al, the Ghostbusters fan, as we've just seen, clear diehard fan who owns some toys and stuff?
Yeah.
Can you see an outcome where this movie wins you over?
Yeah. Okay. If it's good, and I say, okay, that was respectful to the, I don't see how that's possible, I'll own up to it. I'll be like, you know what, this performed better than I visualized it. If I have nieces and nephews that are young, if they see the movie and they like it and they want to go now see the original, good. That was their gateway into seeing the classic and the original, and that was a way to pass on what was essentially my childhood to them. So while I might not agree with the motives or the execution of it, I'm the type of person that's like, if it actually is good, I'll admit it. Yeah, okay, it was good. By all means, I don't see how that's possible.
Right.
But so be it. And if it even if it turns out negative, there's still a love for the original that's just reinforced by this reboot.
Yeah, you know what? I just feel like if it does end up being good, they probably cost themselves so much money.
Yeah.
Like with every step that they took and all the middle fingers to the fans. Like,
Yeah.
What would you do that for?
I have no idea.
They had to have cost themselves, like, it's like you said, it's hard to believe, like, if it is actually good, they somehow gave us the worst possible footage in
Right.
their 2 trailers. They acted like assholes and still somehow had a good film underneath their arms. Like,
I
what?
think it's all ego. I think once you reach a certain level of success, you forget where you come from.
Mm-hmm.
You forget about the passion as to why you're doing it. It all becomes a paycheck. And then you're all about drumming up controversy, and you don't really think about how it affects the end product,
Mm-hmm.
you know? And I think they lost sight of that. And hopefully they change their tone in the future. And I hope lessons are learned from this, you know?
Yes, yes, yes. And it's it's not that I root for anything.
Right.
I just feel like they really it's not fair that people that make something that are basically dependent on
Mm-hmm.
the public to uh, verify their quality. The steps that Sony took, they should not be able to walk away from this with a
Right.
smile, because
No, I think there should be. I think the fans are going to let their opinions be heard,
mm-hmm,
and hopefully they learn from it, and hopefully this causes a big shakeup in not just Sony but the industry, and it's like, okay, we got to treat our audience with a lot more respect. We have to listen to them. We have to find out what they want, and we have to do our best to give it to them, because at the end of the day, without the audience, you don't have a business.
oh, really quick,
Sure.
and then we'll go.
Okay.
How important is this song to all this, and
The
what?
the original or the new
Yes,
Fallout one?
both of them. I mean,
The new song, I couldn't listen to it the whole way. I physically, I was like, I can't listen to this. I get their intention with it. It's just, why would you? That is such an iconic song. How would you think you could even remotely come close to it again? All right, and then you had that Missy Elliott rap section in the middle, and I'm not the biggest rap fan,
mm-hmm,
but I'm like, didn't we learn lessons from Ghostbusters 2 soundtrack? I mean, you got one decent song in that, the one that's in the Grand Theft Auto 5 game.
mm-hmm.
Right, I was actually playing GTA 5 not too long ago, and I'm going through the challenge. I'm like, is that the fucking Ghostbusters 2 song? Right, but the Ray Parker Jr. song is an icon. It's a great movie song. It's a great song in general. It's funny how it actually ripped off the Huey Lewis song, yet no one remembers the fucking Huey Lewis song. You know, the Huey Lewis did a song called "I Want a New Drug," which is essentially the same melody.
Uh-huh.
No one remembers that fucking song. They remember the Ghostbusters song. So I don't understand their thinking at all. If you want to hear a great rendition of the classic Ghostbusters song, look this up on YouTube. It's a Ghostbusters Men in Black mashup.
Okay.
With Will Smith singing the Men in Black song. He does it a cappella. I guess they released an a cappella version of it, mixed in with the Ghostbusters song, and that's what gave me the idea for the the crossover.
Sure.
You would think this was meant to be. This is so well mixed, and it's the best the Sony has to offer, I think. And I loved it. I heard this thing, and I listened to this as much as I listened to the original. When I'm exercising, because I listen to classic music, classic rock, classic music, and when I do my exercise. And the Ghostbusters song is always one that's like, even when I'm tired, it's like, okay, there's that additional boost to finish the workout.
Sure.
So 30 years later, I must have heard the song 10,000 times, and it still hits me every time. So yeah. So
yeah. Well, in a couple of days, I'll know, at least. I'll know in a couple of days. I don't know what it'll take to have you.
I'm not paying to see it in theaters. It's if they didn't insult me. Now, I know not me personally. If they didn't insult the fans, and now it's getting decent reviews, I'd be like, okay, fine. I'll put down $5-10 for a matinee, and check it out. On principle, after doing days worth of videos, for me to go pay and see it, that's hypocrisy, and that's giving in to them. So I'm pretty much in the catch-22 here. Like, even if I want to go see it now, I can't, because then I lose credibility. So at some point, probably when it's on demand or something, I'll check it out and I'll do a review or maybe like a commentary or whatever. Like, it'll probably get shut down. But I did like a first reaction commentary for Fantastic Four when it was on like HBO Now or something. And I never saw the movie. I thought, well, that'd be interesting to react to the movie as a commentary while you watch it and get a fresh perspective. And Fox didn't like that. They shut it down. So
it's so strange. I still have yet to figure out the
copyright strikes. Yeah, I'm shocked Sony hasn't hit me with copyright strikes for Ghostbusters. I am actually shocked.
Yeah.
But, you know, I did a positive reaction to some Fox movie. I forget. It was Independence Day. I did a reaction to the trailer. I was like, oh, this looks good. Oh, copyright strike. It's the trailer you publicly released. So I don't know. It's the internet's crazy and Hollywood's crazy. So
indeed. So other than the days and days of Ghostbusters videos, what else can viewers find on your channel in case they want to go and check you out?
I do some tech reviews. I'm a big tech geek. I don't have a lot of money, but
what in specific do you mean by
like you know, tech products like phone, the iPhone, the iPads. I love talking about movies. As clearly as, you know, we've gone on all night here.
Probably 2 hours, yeah.
Oh yeah. Just blogs, you know, about weight loss and, you know, occasionally a comment on world events. I try not to, though, because it's very polarizing. Just stuff I love, you know, technology. Like right now, I got an Oculus Rift, and I'm going to try to start doing Let's Plays and stuff like that with it.
That's cool.
And I just love venting my passion for things on there, and I seem to have an audience with it. So I'm very grateful for this opportunity to go on and talk movies with you.
Oh, no, thanks for having
no
thanks
problem.
for being here.
No problem. So, yeah, check me out. Look up Al Smith or look up Ghostbusters Rant. I'm sure you'll see me. You can't miss my ugly face.
Yeah, and, if you're watching this in
yeah,
the future, I'll have the link in down below.
And yeah, I'm for the channel. Once I hit 1,000, I'm working on you know, expanding into more social media. I'm starting doing like retro reviews where like I'll review an older movie as if I've seen it for the first time, and you know, stuff like that. Film commentaries. I mean, it all depends on what I can get away with copyright strikes and all that, because I want to be very respectful of that.
Yeah.
But you never know. Like, I try to do audio commentary. Some studios allow it, some don't. You know.
Yeah.
So yeah, like I have ideas for like movie conspiracy theories or whatever. Or
that's
like,
awesome.
Yeah, like, did you know that E.T. is actually a Jedi, or stuff like that? You know, that kind of humor. You know. Yeah, I mean, it's like, hey, he recognizes Yoda. He can use the Force. E.T.
in Revenge of the Sith too.
Yeah. E.T. is Star Wars on Earth. I bet you didn't know that. You know, stuff like that. So
that's cool.
Yeah, like I'm watching the Lethal Weapon movies now. I'm going, you know what? I'll guarantee, because both those characters were in Vietnam. Mel Gibson's character was in like a special squad in Vietnam. Fuck it. What if he was Rambo's partner in Vietnam? Shit like that, you know?
That's cool.
So yeah. So feel free to check out my channel, and look forward to, you know, I try to comment on respond to my comments, excuse me. And you know, right now there's so many I can't possibly keep up, but I try to keep up as best I can. So
well, enjoy it while you can, because
believe me, yeah, I think I'm gonna have a drop off after Ghostbusters. But that's fine. You know, the core audience will stick around and hear me rambling on for hours on end about movies and that. So you know, that's all you can hope for. So
yeah, hopefully you just gotta hope for the next big thing and just tackle that. That's basically.
Oh, believe me, with Star Wars now, I got plenty to say on Star Wars.
Sure.
Positive stuff. I'm not all hate here. I'm so willing to move on to stuff I'm looking forward to.
No, you were fine here. I mean, people, if they go from here to your stuff,
Yeah.
it may be a little jarring because
Well,
you
yeah,
certainly,
because most films I would never be this vocal on.
right. It's because it's your
Ghostbusters,
baby.
yeah, Ghostbusters is my childhood, so I'm
Mhm.
defensive of it. But
Mhm.
most of the time, I'm very open-minded to films. I'm almost always willing to give it the benefit of the doubt.
Mhm.
So, yeah, I just want to see films succeed. I want to see tech succeed. I want storytelling and art and all that to be at its height, not just be a shameless
Absolutely.
cash grab. So,
Absolutely.
all right. So it's been lovely being on.
Well, thank you for having. Again, thank you for being here.
Right. Oh, I feel like I'm
Um,
hosting. No,
yeah, guys. The next time we are on this platform, at least I will have seen it. So, uh, I think Monday would be the earliest that we're going to recover it. Maybe Al comes back and joins us.
maybe I'd be more than welcome to. Sure.
Yeah, we'll see what happens. But uh, it's coming. It's coming, and one of us is going to have seen it by then. Thank you so much for joining us.
All right. No problem.
And we'll see you guys